This is Rugby Radio
with Stuart Cameron.
Brought to you by Borders College.
Hello and welcome to Rugby Radio, which comes to you live from Beveridge Park today. It's the big National 2 contest between Kirkcaldy and Peebles, and it promises to be a huge game in the grand scheme of things. We were, of course, going to be bringing you two games this afternoon, but unfortunately the pitch at Lasswade is waterlogged, and so their game against Falkirk in the same division is off. So you'll get the full commentary from here instead, and no such issues as the surface looks absolutely terrific. Well done to Colin Faulkner, the man in charge of the ground here, who's done a fantastic job. So Dale Clancy and Sam Mathews with us today, and you'll be hearing from them later on, along with Robin Purdy, who was due to be at Lasswade, who's now at home instead, but we'll be linking up with him in the next hour because we're going to have a bit of a discussion about the demise of the Super Series, the future for club rugby in Scotland, and also looking ahead to the Calcutta Cup game next Saturday. But first, let's bring in Hugh Brown, who's pitchside for us this afternoon, and you get the feeling already that this is a game which is certainly going to be getting the spectators in today.
It certainly is, Stuart. I expect the stand that you're sitting in at the moment and I'm down at the front of will be pretty busy because Peebles will certainly bring with them a good travelling support. By the way, I have to say I'm very jealous of Robin Purdy in his own home broadcasting today.
He's probably in bed still.
Probably. Anyway, here at Beveridge Park it is indeed. It's a mouth-watering game because basically Peebles have the division in their own hands. If they win their last two games and certainly win them with a bonus point, then they would be promoted. That is, of course, unless the SRU change the league structures, and that's still to be decided, of course. But at the top of the table in Division 2, it is actually very close because it's a three-horse race still, because Peebles lead the table with 67 points. Just 1 point behind are Falkirk, and as you said, Lasswade against Falkirk, sadly a victim of a waterlogged pitch today. They're on 66. In third in the table, Lasswade themselves, 58 points, which sounds like a fair way back, but actually they've got a game in hand, so theoretically if they win all of their last three games, they could still be in the mix for promotion.
Yeah, and what about the bottom end then? Also set for a bit of a grandstand finish. We've got Stirling County are not out of the woods yet, but a battle going on obviously between Berwick and Aberdeen Grammar to avoid the drop, and that's still very much open, isn't it?
It is, and very interesting enough, Aberdeen Grammar School's last game is against Peebles up at Rubislaw, and that could yet decide the promotion and indeed relegation places in National League Division 2.
That's a tough place to go, isn't it, for Peebles as well? So there's a lot of rugby still left in this league, and you would imagine the game between Lasswade and Falkirk, which was due to be played today, that could well be happening on March the 16th as well. So a lot going on, and of course it's Super Saturday as well, so not the best day to have some club rugby on there.
No, the international match will be going on then, so you've got competition for that, but I think the clubs will focus very much on their games, and as you said, it is going to be a cracker between Lasswade and Falkirk when that one goes ahead, and also Aberdeen against Peebles, and it should mean that Peebles have the destiny of the championship in their own hands, because as I mentioned, if they do win both games, they should be promoted.
Yeah, and of course that could have happened today. We could have actually seen Peebles crowned champions if the results elsewhere had gone, but now we've got to wait another month till, as I say, at least March the 16th to see what's going to happen. So it's all very intriguing stuff.
It is, but at least today we've got a really good match in prospect between these two clubs, and I'll be chatting hopefully later on to the president of Kirkcaldy Rugby Club, Anne Oliver. Fascinating club actually, and we'll hear more about that a wee bit later on in the programme. But today the pitch, as you said, looking surprisingly good actually, considering the weather that we've had. And Kirkcaldy, they will be a tough team for Peebles to beat, but Peebles will be up for it. As I said, they'll bring a good support, I'm sure, and it will be a cracking game when it kicks off at 3 o'clock.
We're certainly looking forward to it. Plenty of music as well, and Dale Clancy's just arrived nicely in time, and his favourite artist of all time is, of course, George Michael. So this one, especially for him, this is Careless Whisper.
Time can never mend
the careless whispers of a good friend to the heart and mind. Ignorance is kind, but there's no comfort in the truth. Pain is the whole you find. Should've known better, yeah. Silver screen and all its sad goodbye. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Though it's easy to pretend, I know you're not a fool. Should've known better than to cheat a friend, waste the chance that I'd been given. So I'm never gonna dance again the way I danced with you. Oh, oh.
George Michael playing on Rugby Radio.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whisky making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Borders College is your local community college. Why not read about the successes of former students, from successful businesses to top sports athletes? We love to share their successes and hear from former students. If that's you, get in touch and tell us about your own success. Read the success stories and tell us about yours right now at borderscollege.ac.uk. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
Yes, and before that it was George Michael. I did actually make a mistake. I did say that Dale Clancy, George Michael was his favourite. It was in fact Wham. I do apologise to him. It was Robin Purdy who is the big George Michael fan. He's obviously in bed at the moment. Right, well, let's have a look at Premiership. And last night, of course, there was a big game. It was Curry playing Mar. It ended Curry 17, Mar 27. That was Curry's fifth defeat of the season and their first at home. So that result means that Mar will take on Curry on March the 2nd, of course, and the other match will be between Hawick and Kelso in the Premiership playoffs. Glasgow Hawks against Kelso playing today at Balgray, and Herits Blues against Selkirk as well, and we'll have a little preview of both those games very shortly, but I think we can go down pitchside now because Hugh Brown has got Quintan Sanft, and it's not often that he talks to a former Samoan rugby international. Well, that's exactly what he's got right now.
Quintan, welcome to Rugby Radio. Nice to see you. Nice to be here at Beveridge Park for the first time broadcasting live. What about the game today then against Peebles? It's a tough one for you.
Very tough. Obviously, they hold the top seat at the table at the moment, but it's our last home game over here, so the boys are looking forward to it, and hopefully they pull out a good performance.
Tell me about you and Kirkcaldy. You've been here a long time, and you're part of the furniture now, almost, aren't you?
A very long time, but yeah, I enjoy it. The wife is from here, and the kids have grown up here now, so I'm enjoying my time here.
You were for a while a player coach. You're now just coach. Would you rather be putting on your boots and going out there?
Yeah, I think the head always can do more, but I think the body's given up.
How about this season for Kirkcaldy? How would you describe it?
It's been an up and down season. Obviously, we struggled this year with not having our second 15. So the number of players we're having to recruit hasn't been ideal, but the boys have done well. We hold mid-table now, so it's a progress for us. Hopefully next year we'll try to start up that second 15 so we can get more players into the team and more young players. Our Colts are doing well, so hopefully those boys will come up and do a job for us.
One of the good things about Kirkcaldy is that you do bring on local lads, and virtually the whole team comes from round about Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there's 11 boys that 13 boys that played youth rugby for Kirkcaldy, and then obviously up in the seniors now. So yeah, the team, the club itself are doing well.
Now, against Peebles today, you said they're a tough task because they are top of the table. They are absolutely going for promotion. They will want to inflict a defeat on you today. Not only a defeat, but they want the bonus point as well.
Yeah, well, we understand that. We know they need a bonus point to win the league, and obviously to the boys, it's our last home game. We want to put out a good performance for our supporters and our club as well. So,
and your prediction then, because obviously it is going to be tough for Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's always tough. Peebles gave us a hard time down there, so obviously we look to do the favour here.
What about the team news? Who's in and who's out?
Pretty much a settled team now. Well, I just looked at the squads there. Last time we played Peebles, we had 10 boys that didn't play that game, so these are 10 boys that hopefully will do the job for us today.
Well, I wish you well. I know you've got a team talk. Thank you for taking the time out to speak to me. All the best this afternoon.
Thank you.
Hugh Brown at the pitchside talking to Quintan Sanft. Bit of a legend round these parts, he certainly is, and we'll be also hearing from the Peebles perspective very, very shortly. But I mentioned that Glasgow Hawks are playing Kelso today at Balgraeme. We can hear from both coaches there. That game is kicking off at 2 o'clock. Let's start with Director of Rugby, in fact, of Kelso, and that's Neil Hinnigan.
Could be a fair old battle up there. They've come off the back of a good win against Heriot's, which obviously helped us as well. You know, it was a bit of a favour there. It saves us having to go up here for a must-win game, but we still want to go up there and put our best foot forward and try and win the match. We are looking for that consistency and momentum for obviously heading into the semi-final against Hawick on the 2nd of March. So we are going through with a fairly strong team, fairly settled. Angus McGregor comes in at loose head prop for Grant Shields, a very well deserved promotion from the bench for Angus. He's been superb this season. Another lad who's got under 20s prospects and so on, so he really deserves that. Cammy Thompson starts in the second row again. He's just, you know, he got a bit of a knock confidence wise when he was dropped after the Accies game for Curry, but came on against Jed and had a bit of a stormer as well, so he deserves his start as well. So that's all really good and positive for us, that we're spreading it about a little bit to try and get a bit more depth around the squad. So backs are fairly settled, and we're looking forward to the match. Hawks, we beat them at home 29-14. Wasn't Hawks' best day, and that was obviously in the media at the time that Hawks hadn't had their best day down at Pointer, and they've got a few wrongs to right. And now that they've beat Heriot's, and I think their last game's against Jed on the 2nd of March, they'll really be aiming to get 3 wins from 3 for their remaining fixtures. So plenty to play for Hawks, and obviously there's plenty to play for ourselves.
That's Neil Hinnigan, the Director of Rugby at Kelso, and let's hear what Andy Hill has to say, the Glasgow Hawks head coach.
Our last outing was obviously against Heriot's, which was pleasing to get a win for the first time in a while. It was good for the boys. It was something they probably deserved because we've came so close on many occasions, and it's just come down to, you know, 1 or 2 kind of key moments that we've not come out the right side of. I think we've lost 5 games within the 7 points. You know, if we've even turned 2 or 3 of them into wins, then you're pushing for top 4. But the pleasing thing for the guys was it actually shows what they're capable of. You know, it shows they're capable of beating a side that are looking to be a top 4 team. And that if we'd managed to string a couple of results back to back, which is so difficult in this league just because of the quality of teams every week in, week out, that if we managed to do that, we put ourselves in a position to go away and win some games. The last time we played against Kelso was probably our poorest performance of the season. We travelled down there, real lack of energy and quality in the warm-up, and it just led to a real kind of uncertainty and almost like an element of fear when we went down there, and that kind of transferred into the performance, whereby Kelso got an early score, kept a really simple game plan of just, you know, running hard, running at 10, kind of really putting us under pressure. And from that, you know, they got an early score and then an intercept that led to another score. It's exciting times. We're getting closer to kind of full strength towards the end of this season. And, you know, this game against Kelso is again another opportunity to show, you know, against a team that are looking for top 4, that, you know, we can go out and beat them.
Andy Hill, the Glasgow Hawks head coach. Well, back live here at Beveridge Park in Kirkcaldy. Both teams are warming up at the moment. Don't forget that game coming up at 3 o'clock. A host of matches happening at 2, including the Glasgow Hawks Kelso game and the Heriot's Blues against Selkirk, which we'll be talking about shortly. But let's go pitchside once again. Hugh Brown is now with the head coach of Peebles, Graeme Paterson.
Graeme, it's nice to talk to you again. Welcome back to Rugby Radio. This time at Beveridge Park. How do you feel about today's game?
Yeah, we're absolutely looking forward to it. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a nice day, good conditions, and we're looking to go out there and play some good rugby and take that second last step towards our goal.
Yes, you've got 2 games left. Last one against Aberdeen Grammar School away up at Rubislaw on the 16th of March. So, in a way, your destiny is in your hands, because if you win both games with a bonus point, you'll get promoted.
And that's part of the messaging we've given to the players, is let's not worry too much about the Falkirks and the Lasswades and anybody else, really, to be honest. To just concentrate on ourselves, going out there, trusting the processes that we've got, trusting the game plan that we've got, trusting ourselves, and go out in there and deliver and get the results, and then nothing else anybody else can do, to affect that.
That's right, and of course, sadly today we were due to bring coverage of Lasswade Falkirk, but the pitch is waterlogged, so that means that will be played on Super Saturday on the 16th of March when you're up at Aberdeen, we think. So it may well be that, at that point you'll know whether you're going to get promotion or not.
Well, that's right, so hopefully we do our bit today and then get us to that point, and that's what we're doing. We're just concentrate on today, and then we'll take the 16th of March as it comes, and then, as you say, we'll know what we need to do at that point, and that's what we have to do. So, well, to be fair, we actually know what we need to do now. We need to win both games by 5 points, and there's nothing else anybody can do about that. And I think the guys are focused on that. The messaging we gave them just before there in the changing room was about, let's just concentrate on today's game. Let's not think about Aberdeen. Just think about today. Go through your drills, go through your warm-up, and then go and play the game like we have been playing for the last number of weeks, and getting those wins and outcomes that we deserve, I think.
And what would it mean to a club like Peebles to be promoted to National League Division 1?
Oh, it's massive. We've been in National 2 for a number of seasons now, and pushed on a couple of times and just fell short. But I think the group of players that we've got just now are really committed, to achieving that goal. And it also help in terms of the wider picture, in terms of keeping our youth players, more likely to keep them. Obviously people have individual ambitions and stuff like that, but the higher up the first 15 are playing, then the longer you can keep these talented youngsters. The likes of Ross Wolfenden, Ollie Furness, Chris Thompson, all these boys that are kind of getting national recognition. If we can sustain our position in the sort of upper echelons of club rugby, then it means that our model works, and it's a sustainable model, and we retain our players. We don't need to really go out and recruit players. We just look to retain and improve and keep those players at Peebles.
And that's why the Peebles Colts are so important to the future of Peebles Rugby Club.
Oh, absolutely, and they're going well again this year. They won the semi-junior league last year. They're up in the top of the table again, and the big game today for them as well against Kelso Harlequins. So they are producing pretty much all our players. I think we've only had 2 or 3 players the whole season that have not come through our youth system playing in our first 15. So that's a testament to their production line of players.
We've talked, you and I, before about Matty Carrier coming back in. He's right behind us actually at the moment, so watch what you say. But he must be a huge influence on the younger players.
He is. When he speaks, the players listen, and that's the good thing. He does a coach's voice in terms of setting standards for players. So I can just stand back and let him.
Are you worried about your job?
Absolutely not. He can have it if he wants it. No, I'm not joking. But realistically, that's what we want. We want to not only produce players, but we want to produce coaches and preparing senior players for coaching roles, if that's what they want to do, is part of my role as well, is producing the next line. So we're Matty has had a big influence, and I think what he's done is he's bounced off a few other guys as well and improved them in terms of their leadership skills.
And the team news today, what's that? Who's in, who's out?
Yeah, so pretty settled side as you expect. The only kind of changes really, but Ron McKeever comes back in to start at 6. And Kenny Clyde gets the spot on the bench. We've also got William Aitken available for us as well. William Napier. William Aitken, he's still recovering from his broken arm. William Napier, who is he's part of the Navy training squad at the moment. So he's a People's boy, but he's down training with them at the moment. But he's back, and he's available for us. So he's come back into the squad as well. Max McKeever starts at 9, just with a late call off for Caelan, his cousin. But pretty settled as you would expect. For us, we had a few tight calls to make, with a few boys coming back from injuries and availabilities. So it was keen in terms of training and who was going to get those slots. But we all trusted the 19 boys that have been selected to go out and do the game.
You beat Kirkcaldy down at the Gates earlier in the season. You'll hope for the same result today.
Absolutely, take that and just walk away. That would be absolutely ideal. 5 points, a good winning margin, and get back on the bus and go down to Peebles and then concentrate on the Aberdeen game. That's what we're hoping for. Let's see if it goes that way. But yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get the 5 points.
Wish you and the lads all the best. Graeme, thank you for joining me. And the man we talked about earlier is now with me, Matty Carrier. Matty, welcome to Rugby Radio. How important is this game today against Kirkcaldy?
It's very important. I think we're not taking it lightly. Obviously, we've got targets to set. We obviously want promotion, so we've targeted 5 points from each of the games left, and we've only got 2 left. So yeah, we're looking to put a good performance in and hopefully get the result that we're wanting.
I was talking to Graeme there, and he was saying that as well as being a player, you very much give a coach's view to the lads, and when you speak, they listen to you. Do you agree with that?
At certain times, I think just a wee bit more experience than most of them. I've got 10, 12 years in a lot of the boys, so they do listen, I think. So I would take it on board and try and put in where I think we can change and sort of get better. So yeah, it's been working out so well this year.
How's it felt to be back with your home club, Peebles?
Yeah, it's good. I've always said I'd come back and finish here, so I've still got a few years of rugby in me yet, I think, but it's good to be back playing with I know a lot of them, well, most of them, so like I said, they're a wee bit younger than me now, most of them, but they're all good mates. They're all Peebles boys as well, so it's good to be back in amongst it.
Do you watch Hoyk with any kind of envy as they sit top of the Premiership?
Not envy, I wouldn't say. I watch them because I've obviously made a lot of good friends there, so I like to see them doing well, but yes, I watch. I wouldn't say envy. I watch with pride. I would say. I quite like seeing them getting good results.
And today against Kirkcaldy, they'll give you a good game. You beat them down at the Gates.
Yeah, this is it. We know what to expect for Kirkcaldy. They're usually a big pack. They like to rumble about. So forwards, we've got a task in our hand to deal with that. So, like I say, it's going to be a tough ask, but we'll hope to get the result at the end of the day.
Conditions are good today. The pitch looks not bad, Nick, actually.
Yeah, definitely. The pitch is looking good. Not so much wind, which makes my job a little bit easier for throwing the lineouts. But yeah, hopefully get a nice dry ball and get to throw the ball a bit.
And optimistic about the win? Yeah,
I would say so. I've got. I think Graeme probably touched on it. We've got a good choice of boys this week. We had plenty of depth to choose from, so we've got a good 19. A lot of impact coming from the bench as well when we're calling on them. So I would say we're quite looking forward to it.
Wish you and the lads all the best this afternoon. Good luck. Matty Carrier, thank you.
Matty Carrier talking to Hugh Brown, Pitchside, and the big match kicking off at 3 o'clock. We're 2 minutes away from the 2 o'clock kickoffs, and there are a lot of them, including Heriots Blues against Selkirk today at Golden Acre. We can hear now from Sesh Henderson, the head coach of Selkirk.
The guys were pretty disappointed with the overall performance against Hoyk. Strong side, but in areas we did underperform that day. And so we want to put that right in our last game and finish on a high performance, a positive performance. So we got there with a positive mindset, and let's play the way we want to play. Good track up there, and just put a big shift in for 80 minutes, and let's see what happens. But we're pretty positive we do that, and we want to finish with a big performance.
Sesh Henderson, Selkirk head coach, and he's at Golden Acre today with the boys playing Heriots Blues. In National 1, it's Dundee against GHA. Now, Dundee need just 2 points to survive and send GHK down to relegation issues into National 2. So that's a big game we'll be keeping an eye on. Glasgow Accies against GHK. GHK a must win if Dundee slip up, of course, and Highland will be playing Gala. That's the only other one at 3 o'clock today. In National 2, Aberdeen Grammar against Stumel, Berwick against Gordonians. The Lasswade Falkirk game sadly postponed. Newton Stewart v Stirling, and this one here, Kirkcaldy against Peebles. In National 3, it's Allen Glens v Boroughmuir, Cartha Queen's Park against Orkney, Dumfries versus Preston Lodge, Hamilton against Hillhead Jordan Hill, Howe Fife against West of Scotland, and 4 games in Division 4 today. Garnock, top of the table, unbeaten, the only club unbeaten in the league this year. They take on Dunfermline, a home match for them. Greenock Wanderers against Ross High, North Berwick against Perthshire, and Stewartry against Murrayfield. We're going to hear from Paul Pringle very, very shortly, but let's go pitchside again. Hugh Brown is with the president of Kirkcaldy Rugby Club, and that is Anne Oliver.
And welcome to Rugby Radio. It's nice to be with you at Beveridge Park for the first time.
It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming.
It's our pleasure. It's a big game for both teams today. Kirkcaldy, particularly for Peebles, because they will want to obviously ensure that they get 5 points for a bonus point and beat Kirkcaldy in order to gain that promotion slot.
Well, absolutely. Kirkcaldy have other ideas though, and we're hoping for a victory today that might put paid to Peebles' plans.
Well, certainly you'll have the home advantage and presumably have a good crowd in watching.
Yes, absolutely. We've been looking forward to the game.
Good. Now, the club itself has a huge history dating back to 1873. I was doing a wee bit of research because you were one of the very first clubs in Scotland.
We celebrated our 150th anniversary last year, which was great fun, really exciting with lots of events on, and we recreated the first game again, which was against Portobello last summer. It was good fun.
And actually, I mean, it was pre-rugby. You were playing football to rugby rules in those days because there weren't the rugby rules then. You'd be presumably a Kirkcaldy Football Club at that point.
Yes, that's right.
So tell us how the club has progressed. You had your 150th anniversary. Rugby in Fife, there's not too many teams in Fife. Rugby's better known in the Borders in the West and Edinburgh. So where does Kirkcaldy Rugby Football Club fit into the community in Kirkcaldy?
We play an important part in the community. There's a strong youth setup and mini setup, so regularly there's a couple of hundred children playing at the weekend. We also have events on at the club for the elderly. We've got a successful bite and blether lunch, which is proving to be really popular. So we do recognise that there's a role to play in the community. We're looking to progress with plans for the redevelopment of the club as well, cementing its place in the community.
Yes, I was talking to Colin, the groundsman, about that, and I mean, you're looking to raise, I think, £3 million to do that. That's going to be a tough call.
It absolutely is, yeah. Aim high, I would say.
Definitely, absolutely. Now, it's not unfair to say that you've got rugby in your blood, haven't you? Because there's your dad's a former president, your sons have played for the club, haven't they?
That's right. I was probably first at the club when I was a babe in arms, and my dad, who's 88 this week, will be along to watch the game today, and my younger son, Ewan's on the gate.
I'm hoping that your dad comes and has a wee chat to me because he's the club historian as well, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. He knows it. If he doesn't know it, it's not worth knowing.
And he wrote the programme for an incredible 63 years.
A long time, yeah. He's an important part of the club.
How do you feel as club president? Is there a big weight on your shoulders? And the other thing, and I'm not at all being sexist, but you are a female president, and that's unusual.
It is. I'm female and I haven't actually ever played rugby myself, which is quite unusual. It's a big job, it's fair to say, and I think it's one that increases as each year goes past. We became a charity a few years ago, and there's just so much going on at the club that it is a big job.
Yes, it's not just about the rugby on a Saturday, it's through the whole week, presumably.
That's right, yep.
And other events going on.
There's always something on at the club. There's always a meeting. There's lots to take on board. But enjoying it. It's good fun. It's exciting.
Yes, and I mean today it's going to be a good match against Peebles, and as I say, they're going to really want to defeat Kirkcaldy. But as you said, your team have got other plans.
Yes.
How do you see it going?
Well, I think it'll be a tough game. Obviously, it means a lot to Peebles. The ball coming, and I think it'll be quite a hard game. Kirkcaldy have had ups and downs this season, but hopefully we can put in a good performance today and not let it go all Peebles' way.
Well, let's hope it's a good game. That's the main thing for the fans both of Kirkcaldy, and I think Peebles will have a big travelling support today as well.
Yes, I expect so. We're looking forward to welcoming lots of Peebles fans.
And it's been lovely to talk to you. Good luck this afternoon. Good luck with being president and for all that you do for the club. And as I say, it's really nice for us to be here for the first time broadcasting live from Beveridge Park, and I'm sure we'll enjoy the rest of the afternoon with you.
Great to have you and enjoy the game.
Thank you very much. Anne Oliver, the president of Kirkcaldy Rugby Football Club.
More interviews from Hugh Brown a little bit later on, including the historian, hopefully, and maybe a chat with Alan Beveridge, which would be quite nice at Beveridge Park, wouldn't it? We'll see if we can arrange that. Right now, I can tell you that Earlston are 5-0 ahead against Lismore. That's just kicked off. A game that's also just kicked off is very much part of the National 2 setup, and we're talking Berwick, who are playing against Gordonians today. They need points at the bottom end of the table, and we spoke to Paul Pringle, the forwards coach, earlier on.
I think it's probably fair to say it's a much bigger game for us than it perhaps is for them, albeit they'll want to finish as high as possible in the league table. We had a really tough game against them up there. It was nip and tuck. I think we probably let ourselves down a little bit in the scrum, but we did create opportunities and we run them pretty close. I think the key for me was probably our first phase defence, which we've been working on this week. And we've got Ben Nicholson back in the centre just to help shore up things there. So, yeah, that's our main focus. I mean, we're not in control of events elsewhere, but we know that, you know, if we can get our home wins, we've got 3 games left now, that would assure our place in the league, which really is the key priority. In terms of team selection this week, so we're pretty much full strength apart from Ecor's still out with a shoulder injury, and unfortunately we lost James Grieve up at Falkirk. However, we do have some new faces back in the team. So we've got young Callum Arthur has stepped up to the first 15. He had time up at Falkirk and by all accounts played really well. So Callum's a big lad, you know, he's a good young player. He's been training with us for a little while now. Now he's turned 18. I think he'll be a great asset to the team, and you know we've evidenced over the last couple of years with guys like, you know, Stu Farnaby, that just getting them in the environment, getting them involved with the players, just seeing the way we play and train, etc. You know, it really helps bring these young lads on pretty quickly. So we'll be looking for exactly the same with Callum. He'll definitely get game time on Saturday, and you know we'll just look to see how that plays out. In other news, Jordan Jackson's back at 15 after an injury he had received up at Peebles, so that's good. You know, Jordan gives a real attacking threat in the back line, and between himself, Adrian Rose and Jack Dalrymple, you know, that back three is really strong, so we would hope to be causing a few issues there. So all in all, yeah, we're fairly close to our full strength team, and we'll just, you know, look forward to getting the game on Saturday. And hopefully, you know, just starting to pull away from Aberdeen at the foot of the table.
Well, Paul Pringle there, the forwards coach from Berwick, and he'll be absolutely delighted because Berwick have gone ahead already, 5-0 at home to Gordonians, a real tough match, and that was converted. So 7-0 are Hoyk Quinns against Haddington and Hoyk Lindeen against Langham, and it's the bowl semi-final that Earlston are 5-0 ahead against Lismore. Galloway M also playing in that one against Edinburgh Northern. A couple we'll be keeping an eye out as well for today. So coming up very shortly, we'll be talking to Sean Muir, the captain of Hoyk. Hoyk have a day off, and next week as well, and I think the week after that as well. So I went down to Mansfield Park to have a chat with him, but first let's have a little bit of music.
The straight jacket of true love's fine, bang bang. Houdini in your spare time, bang bang. Lord Nell and Lady Hamilton, they fought for love. When he come home from the war, he give a whoop for love. The mighty fall when love has called. Vampire friends desire to lust, bang bang. They fall on necks, then fall in love, pang pang. The Marquis de Sade was happy with a stroke of love. Sherlock Holmes alone preferred a little toke of love. Bang bang, the mighty fall. Bang bang, when love is called. Bang bang, the mighty fall. Tony and Cleo struck out for the Frio down Egypt's way. But Caesar had squeezed her in Rome on his quilt for a day. Hey, hey.
Now Anthony got really angry, but old Caesar's hanky-panky. She told him she would use him, and boy did she abuse him. Fall in love and blew him away. Bang, bang, mighty fall. Bang, bang, when love is cold. Bang, bang, the mighty fall. Bang, bang. Na 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 na. And Sam and Delilah, they both we should file under fool. 'Cause when the temples start to crumble, Sammy for his comb did fumble. Life was in a ruin, she loved Johnny Fruin. Fall in love and blew him away. Bang, bang, when love has called. Bang, bang, the mighty fall. Bang, bang, when love has called. Bang, bang.
Another great Scot there, B.A. Robertson and Bang Bang, playing on Rugby Radio 11 minutes after 2 o'clock. Just those two scores at the moment. Not as many early ones as we've used to have, but we've got one here. Berwick 7, Gordonians 7. So Gordonians have equalised there. Also Heriots Blues 7, Selkirk 0 is the latest score in the Premiership. Well, as you may have heard yesterday, the Super Series has been disbanded by the SRU after almost 6 years. For me, it was a good idea, which was never really executed well. It wasn't helped by COVID-19 either. But for me, some of the key areas where things fell apart was the lack of a cross-border competition, which was promised and never materialised. Without that, it meant the 6 teams were playing against each other week in and week out, either in the league or in the sprint or in a friendly. But when the same teams do that for several years, it does get a little bit on the boring side. Live streaming games, expensive, unnecessary, because rather than help promote the competition, it was keeping a lot of people away from paying at the gate and instead watching it on television. And so many times at many games there weren't many people watching or buying into it. A quality highlights package during the week would probably have been a better option, but there were many other issues as well. Well, to discuss all of this, we've put together our own panel. We've got Hugh Brown, Sam Mathews, Dale Clancy and Robin Purdy, who's at his home today in Melrose or somewhere. He's back at home, but let's see if he's actually there now and join up with him, if we can get the elastic bands working and see if he's there. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon from Melrose or somewhere.
Or somewhere. Where is it? Is it Melrose these days?
Melrose.
You flit about so much, don't you? Like a little butterfly.
Not at all.
Well, you've heard some of my own thoughts on that. First of all, do you agree with any of them? And obviously you'll have thoughts yourself about, what's kind of gone wrong here.
Oh, it's hard to say, Stuart. And yes, I do agree with some of your thoughts there. I think it's a bit of a catastrophe, in all honesty, that this concept has been disbanded. Now, I'm on record as saying I've never been much of a consumer of it. From a fan point of view, I get my rugby fix from club rugby and full-on pro rugby, but I monumentally understand the requirement for something that sits in between, purely for player development, particularly young players, and it's just going to remain to be seen what happens now. But yeah, I think it's a really bad thing that this is being. It needed growing out. It couldn't continue in its current way. It couldn't in its current way. It was just too repetitive. But if it was growing out, there was still a future for it for me.
Bringing in Dale Clancy now. Now, you've been commentating on the Super Series since it started, when it was back in its Super 6 days. So you've seen more games in the flesh than most of us. What's your own take on it?
I agree that it's disappointing that it's coming to an end, but I think we've got to realise that from the offset, you would never have been able to foresee what was coming round the corner. You wouldn't be able to see COVID. You wouldn't be able to, when you hang your hat on partnerships, and if they don't, come to fruition because they've had their own barriers, it's obviously going to make the competition itself a little bit diluted. Like, the underlying thing for me is it was quality. Like, the rugby was really, really good. I enjoyed it. I'm probably the same as Robin. Like, I probably wouldn't, if I wasn't involved in it in that aspect, I wouldn't be, waiting at the gates to go to every single game. But like the finals, the competitions that it brought about were really entertaining. There's been a lot of players coming from it. And I think that it depends what argument. I think that there's loads that you see on social media, people complaining about bad decisions from the SRU. It was not well run. Obviously, your angle there on the kind of the way that it was streamed, it was a completely different product. But there's more to it in terms of where do they now sit, what happens next. But it's not just a pathway for players as well. We've got to think about the officials that have come through, the coaches as well that have come through this pathway. It's going to be a gap that needs filled, because we can't. I genuinely don't think it's a matter of parachuting them back into the Premiership. It is a ridiculous idea if that's going to be the case, because each club picked what their future was going to look like in their kind of super the semi-pro era. Some have done better than others, so there's different decisions I think for every club. It can't be a blanket approach.
Well, Hugh Brown, I think while not everyone was a fan of Super 6 or Super Series, everyone agreed that there was a definite need to have this bridge between the amateur game and the pro game.
There was, but I think it was an ill-conceived idea from the beginning. Super 6s, why not Super 8s, Super 10s?
That was the aim, I think, wasn't it?
And the thing was that, I mean, the 6 clubs they picked were the wrong clubs, because they didn't pick a club from Glasgow, they didn't pick any club north of Edinburgh, and therefore there wasn't the regional, the geographical demand for it. And now what we're sitting with, or we will have next season, is well over 100 players scrambling for a club, and it will become something, I feel, of a bidding war for the clubs that have got the most money, that want the best players. I
agree with bits of it, but disagree, because you could never have had a Super 8 or a 10 from the offset. There's just not the demand or the players there to fulfill that. Like there was a vacuum of players go to super, like semi-pro rugby, which for a period of time diluted essentially what we had at the Premiership level. It makes it, for me, it made club rugby a game which I was all for. You've seen all the Hoyk players go back to Hoyk and make them successful. It was great, but you're then also not going to have 100 odd players going back to club rugby. If you think about the Southern Knights, in my opinion, for the Southern Knights, if semi-pro rugby is gone, I would remain where you are in that one and build Melrose up again. They've got the income to do it. They've got the sevens to do it.
But is that fair to the club, to say, like Ayr, who are coming up at the moment to the Premiership next year?
But they're different. So, a lot of those players that they've brought in are from other clubs anyway. They're from different areas. Like, sticking on the Southern Knights, a lot of them are from, and what did Robin called them, the Carter Bar Warriors or something like that. But they come from northeast of England. There's going to be rugby down there. The Scottish Rugby provided this chasm of an opportunity in the middle for players to get a pathway to professional rugby. They've provided that. They're going to have to find something else to fix it. But it was supplemented with players from elsewhere. So a lot of those good players that have come through, there was a time as well that you weren't able to highlight if there were good Irish players or South African players, because it was the shining of Scottish players, but there wasn't that many players there. There's not that quality to have that in 6 teams, never mind 8 or 10. So there will be players needing to go play elsewhere. Scottish Rugby are going to have to try and provide that for some players, but if they do filter back towards the Premiership, it'll make that game stronger, and Melrose will be strong next year if that is the case.
I don't disagree with that either, Dale, but one of the things about the SRU, one of the many things about the SRU press release yesterday, was they said that when they did the new structure, they would try and cause the least disruption, in inverted commas, to clubs. How can they possibly do that? There has to be massive disruption. When I spoke to Neil Hinnigan, Director of Rugby of Kelso, a couple of weeks ago on this show, he said he thought it could be chaos.
I totally agree, and then that's where I think all the clubs are individual. Heriots, when this has happened, Heriots and Ayr have been able to incorporate that in their club structure pretty efficiently. You think about the other clubs, Melrose have done okay, but then after that, you look at Boroughmuir and Stirling, they've not been able to find the balance. Now, it would be unfair for a team like Boroughmuir or Stirling to get parachuted back into a level above when you've got teams likes of Falkirk, Peebles trying to strive to get into Nat 1. It's a really competitive league, and I think to bring those teams that have failed over the last couple of years back into a higher level would just be completely unethical.
Well, we have a look at the future in a second. I'm going to bring Sam in here because there was a long statement issued yesterday by the SIU explaining the reasons behind the disbanding of it. Take us through some of the key points and your own thoughts on the whole rise and fall, really, of Super Series.
I think exactly like you said, there was a chasm that needed to play. I think what actually quite highlighted it well as well this year was when they brought in the development side as well. That really showed the gap that there was for that pathway bringing these players through. But I think key points of the statement was we're still going to play it out till November. That series is going to be good. So kind of similar to what Dale and Hugh were talking about there, these players that may struggle to find a place, it now becomes a shop window for them to really advertise their skill. I think, as Dale alluded to there, I think the problem is when you get these extreme examples like Boroughmuir, how do you then filter them back in? But I really struggle to see whether they got a fair crack at it. As Dale alluded to, COVID came in, you can't predict that. You were always fighting it. I think Southern Knights was the great example of everybody associated it with Melrose from the get-go, so that sort of built a mental barrier for people willing to support the team from the surrounding area in the Borders, whereas in Edinburgh the teams might have had a bit more of a willing fan base to go forward and watch it. So different things came across, and it kind of hamstrung itself from the get-go in various aspects, is what I kind of thought about it. And then I think when it just decided it was a give up, it might have been a case of, did they word it correctly to say we're giving up? If they'd been a bit more open and said we don't think it worked, they might have had a bit less of backlash from everybody coming across with it.
8 teams, 10 teams was certainly something that Mark Dodson went on record as saying that's what he wanted to build to. I think Dale's right in saying that there's only 6 possible teams that you could actually put out. Geography obviously was mentioned by Hugh Brown as well earlier on. The fact that there was nothing in Glasgow, there was nothing kind of north of the Forth Bridge. What's your own take on that?
Yeah, I think there was a strong argument for a team in central, the city of Glasgow, if you like, and certainly something north of the Central Belt as well. Just to touch on Dale's point there, it was the Carter Barbars I hasten to add. But no, joking aside, I agree that it could only ever have started with 6, just almost as a bit of a test case to see what was going to happen. But for me, looking at the statement yesterday, I'm looking at it from the point of view of where do these young players get the exposure that they need to progress now? Somebody said to me 2-3 weeks ago that Hector Paterson, for example, has played 4 30-minute or has had 4 30-minute appearances in rugby since July last year. Liam McConnell, captain of Scotland under 20, something the same. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous how little rugby these guys play, and then they get chucked into an under 20s World Cup or a Six Nations or whatever, and they get exposed to an extent. I thought young Paterson was outstanding when he came on against France last week, but he's probably only got 25-30 minutes in him at the moment because he's playing no rugby. So what now is the solution? For me, players like that should have been playing Super Series rugby week in, week out, whether they're contracted to Edinburgh, whether they play for Hawick, whoever they play for. If they're in the under 20s and they're not exiles, they play 80 minutes as often as possible, and that aids their non-gym, their non-physical, if you like, development, their rugby development. But there's talk now about Edinburgh A and Glasgow A, and how often have we heard that in the past? Edinburgh A, Glasgow A, and what happens? They play each other twice a year, Wednesday afternoon, essentially behind closed doors, and they get the odd game against Newcastle Falcons. Even if there is A-team games, if the number of A-team games are increased, if it's not in an actual competition, if you like, with a trophy at the end, if it's not in a formal competition, then they're just glorified friendlies. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out. This, the whole academies, the talk of the pro team academies now, and A games and Scotland A, and so there's the players, the impact on young players, and there's the other side of it. How's it going to impact on what we all commentate on and talk about week in, week out, and that's the club game, that's the Premiership. They've talked about the 6+4. Let's say that did come to pass, and next season hypothetically it was the 6 plus Hawick, Mar, Curry and Kelso. Now nobody's been out with the town of Kelso. Nobody's been a bigger supporter, or enjoyer of Kelso's success than me this season. But I dread to think what the scoreline would be if they went in against the Ayrshire Bulls tomorrow.
The other side of things as well, Robin, is there's a financial aspect to this to the players, because Sam and I were talking about this before we came on air, and some of the players for the clubs are getting paid far more than they would have, for instance, for playing for the Southern Knights. So why would they want to go and play for the Southern Knights with, as you say, very few games, when they can turn out week after week for, say, Hoyk and get paid a lot more money.
It's maybe a different conversation, Hugh, you know, the money that's in club rugby. I think it's less about, well, it won't be less about the money if, you know, if Hoyk and Kelso and Mar are competing for players that are coming back into a club game, if you like, with boys that are dropping out of Ayrshire Bulls and you know, Harriet's Blues and Stirling Wolves and that kind of stuff. So it's just difficult to see how this is gonna pan out successfully, just at a time when it looked like the club game was fairly stable with the 10-team leagues. And yeah, so there's the 2 points there. There's the what happens to young players now. No matter what happens to me, if they come back into what is a new Premiership, then the level of quality comes down. It has to. Because they're playing against players that just aren't up to the same level. The teams at the bottom, you know, or Jed are gone now, but you know, Selkirk with the best will in the world. You look at their bench some weeks and it's a bit threadbare. Glasgow Hawks the same, but are those clubs even going to be involved now? Because who, you know, at that level, because are the Super 6 clubs going to form, you know, just saunter back in? The Melroses, the Stirlings, etc. Boroughmuir, they're going to saunter back into a Premiership, and then what happens to the clubs that have been plugging away, building from the bottom up, the Musselburghs, the Kelsos, etc. So yeah, there's the player side of it, and there's the how is the club landscape going to look going forward, and it's I think Neil Hinnigan absolutely right at Jed that day. You know, he used the best word to describe it, and that's potentially chaos.
I'd like to second some of the stuff that Robin said there as well. I think the interesting way is where the players go. I think Boroughmuir's the biggest exaggeration example we can use, because obviously they're currently sitting in Nat 3, so if you were to bring those players across and drop them straight back in, the disparity in level that they'd have. But Ayr also poses quite the interesting example. As Robin said, they've got themselves back up to the Premiership. Not only that, but they did it convincingly for themselves. To then bring in what would effectively be a whole new squad, how does that affect the players that were already at Ayr? How do these then interact with themselves? How does your Premiership work? How do you decide? Because don't forget, they just made this big song and dance about making it 10-team leagues. Like, that was a big talking point last season. It was pretty much all we spoke about in Borders Rugby. Every game mattered more because there was some leagues had 4 teams coming down, some had 3. They're not going to revert out of that now. They put such a stance on it that it's staying as a 10-team league. So, like we say, does a Musselburgh, does a Selkirk end up falling down a league as a result of pulling people back up? How does that affect everyone?
I think, you know, it's a very valid point in terms of how much they obviously stressed about the 10-team leagues, but they almost, you know, Scottish Rugby did the same about semi-pro. In my time playing, it was a very short and somewhat unsuccessful career, but you know, in terms of playing, I think I played 3 or 4 league structures. You know, they changed them quite often, but you know, the conversation about where the players go, we're all sitting here. And you know, obviously Robin's got his Batman jammies on at home, but we're all standing here in the cold at the moment. Superman, sorry.
Get it right, Dale.
But we're all sitting here just trying to figure out what's going to happen to these players. But we don't have a clue what the structure is going to be, and you almost need a little bit more guidance and clarity, and probably clarity is the one from Scottish Rugby to say exactly what the landscape's going to look like. Because I do agree with Robin, like if you start saying Edinburgh, like we've seen it in years gone by, if it's not something that people are going to buy into, similar to people buying into the likes of the Knights or the Wolves and those sort of things, if you don't have an affiliation to it, then it's going to be difficult to get the real sustainability in that product.
Now Hugh wants to come in on this one as well, but we must also mention the fact that just one of the kind of theories of what could happen is the fact that the Super 6 will carry on, joined by the 4 at the top of the Premiership at the moment. But then the other teams like the Ayers and the Heriots Blues and the Stirling Counties and the Boroughmuirs, etc., would effectively join up with the others, so they would disappear, which would mean that you could actually conceivably end up with a 5-tier divisions like we already have, but losing just probably 2 of the clubs rather than a big upheaval. Is that something, Hugh, which you think could happen?
Well, it might, Stuart, but the reality is whatever magical, mythical idea the SRU come up with for next season...
Well, to be fair, it is going to be the club's decision as well.
That's my next point. It has to be approved by the clubs, and then you have to have an EGM, and at that point, if a number of clubs vote that down, where are you then? Because suddenly you've got the structure proposed and it's not approved. do you go back to the drawing board? You haven't got much time because you've got to get all sorts of logistical things in place for buses and stuff for the beginning of next season, which is only a few months away. So really the time is against the SRU and the clubs to get something in place in time for next season.
And of course the director of rugby, who hasn't been appointed yet to replace Jim Allender, will come in as well. He might have a completely totally different idea and everything's scrapped again,
which will be good, because if he does have a completely different idea, then at least he gets a chance to maybe make something that people are going to buy into, because I'm trying to follow off the back of huge comments there in terms of what idea Scottish Rugby come up with. You know, I'm definitely not like a huge advocate for Scottish Rugby, but I think when I was growing up to where we are now in terms of sometimes the quality of player and the level that we've got in the country, you know, it is inflated as to what we had. So sometimes it's quite easy to hit on the governing body because it's difficult to keep everybody happy. The challenge now is going to be to come up with a solution that's going to get the buy-in of people to make it less easy for people just to say, oh, it was a bad decision, I've seen this coming. Like, if Super Series had worked, that people wouldn't be as vocal about their early opinions on what it was like. It's just been an unfortunate event of circumstances which have probably contributed to an area we have to make better working as a whole. So obviously a new DOR coming in to Scottish Rugby is the opportunity to really put a stamp in, I think, put a flag in the ground and say this is the direction of travel from now on.
And what about the money that was invested? Robin, we'll bring you in on this one, because a lot of money was invested in Super 6. I mean, it is not cheap at all, and we know ourselves, to broadcast with 5 cameras live, that was cut back and cut back and cut back eventually. But that's a lot of money going into Super 6 to try and build it all up. But where's this money going to go now? Is it going to come back into the clubs again? Which surely it must do if they're going to go down that route.
Oh, that's a great question, Stuart. That'll be what a lot of people will want, and Dale touched upon something, everybody working for the greater good, but that's not what's going to happen. Self-interest is going to kick in like it's kicked in since the dawn of time in the Scottish club rugby landscape, and people hated this because it was Dodson's baby, and all the keyboard warriors are out in the comments sections and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, finding something that everybody agrees on is going to be difficult. But yeah, coming back to the money, for me it has to be ring fenced for the development of players that can aid the fortunes of our national team. That's what ultimately it was. Super 6 was brought. It was to bridge that gap to bring young players through and give them more meaningful game time. From a rugby sense, whatever is whatever it replaces Super 6 in terms of that objective, that's probably where the ring fenced money has to go, if you like. And people say grassroots and mini rugby and the women's game and all that kind of stuff, but it has to go towards getting the Hector Patersons and the Liam McConnells and all these young guys coming up through pathways and under 17s and under 18s. It has to be about them getting meaningful adult rugby, and where that's going to come from. One of you mentioned about clarity earlier on. I think it would just be great to have some clarity as to what's going to happen. I mean, we don't even know after the licenses are revoked come November, but we don't know yet because nobody's told us after the sprint series is there going to be a championship that would run until about that time. We don't even know if that's going to happen, so let alone what's going to come further down the track. So yeah, I just like to think the money would be ring fenced for that particular purpose, because that's where we're lacking at the moment. These if a young guy like that's getting if he's played two hours of club rugby since the start of the season, essentially, then that can't continue. I think Dale made a brilliant point at the start of all this as well. It's not just the players, it's the coaches. What happens now to the Ben Cairns, to Scott White, and to the likes of Pat MacArthur? Where do they end up now?
Yeah, and I think Robin, you're totally right there as well. And you look back at the actual statement itself. Scotland Rugby has announced plans for a new male performance pathway designed to retain the country's position as a world's top 5 nation. So, like you're saying there, if there becomes physical proof and there's just confirmation that this money's going in, like you say, whether it's getting players more game times at a consistent level, how they do that? Do they farm people down out into the Championship in England, just making sure they're playing a consistent high level of rugby? Stuff is going on like that. You just need to see it, and I think the reintroduction of like you were alluded to earlier, as long as these teams that are getting reintroduced are playing consistent rugby, like you say, you're not hearing about somebody doing 30 minutes of rugby this month but they've had 1,800 gym sessions, because you're starting to see it, as you said, as long as you're seeing that consistent pathway through the team into the national side. I think that's where everybody agrees that's a good production from the money, and that's what you just want to see coming through.
Well, thanks to Robin and Sam and Hugh as well. Dale, I'm going to leave the last word to you. We've discussed a lot already. I think we're going to find that there's going to be a lot more discussion going on and off and up and down Murrayfield and outside of Murrayfield as well. It is a big deal, isn't it, to get this right?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think the big thing is, as Robin's mentioned it there, is it's just probably just getting some more information. There's a lot of what ifs and what's going to happen in the future. But the ultimate thing is trying to retain our place as a top 5 nation in World Rugby, and obviously this is the Scottish Rugby's objective, is to make money and get bums on seats at the stadiums, and obviously to produce quality players. That feeds into it as well. We're in a good position because people are talking about it. It is a hot topic at the moment. You could see BBC Sports Scotland are reporting on it. The good thing is we've got people that care in this country about what our rugby is going to look like. So there's a lot of anxiety, nervousness about what is coming over the hill. But sometimes you maybe just have to embrace a bit of change and be positive. But the good thing that we've got is that people are involved in it. People are vocal about it and want to try and contribute to that change as well.
Well, it's a fascinating debate. It's one we're certainly going to be returning to. It's going to run for months and months, and there'll be plenty of opinions flying about. But at the end of the day, the goal is to find as many homegrown players of quality as possible who can have that pathway to pro rugby, and how that is done remains to be seen. So thanks to everyone there. We've got a match coming up very, very shortly. We'll get some action on for you at 3 o'clock kickoff here at Beveridge Park. It's Kirkcaldy against Peebles. Well, let's run down the latest scores. Remember, of course, last night it was Curry 17, Mar 27. Final score from last night. That means that Mar will get a home semi-final in the playoffs on March the 2nd. The other game, of course, as we know by now, Hawick against Kelso. Latest score, though, Glasgow Hawks 5, Kelso 3. That's at Balgrave. At Golden Acre, Heriots Blues 14, Selkirk 0 is the latest score, and Graeme Wilson getting one of the tries there. Cammy Meagher getting the other one for Heriots Blues. Into National 1, it's Dundee 7, GHA 3, and remember, Dundee need 2 points to survive today. They've already started well against GHA. Glasgow Accies 7, GHK 0. GHK must win and hope that Dundee slip up today, otherwise they'll be relegated this afternoon. Highland and Gala, the other game in National 1, that's happening at 3 o'clock today. International 2, it's Aberdeen Grammar 10, Stuart's Melville 14. A couple of tries on the board for Stu Mel already, an early lead for Aberdeen, but 2 tries, as I say, for the Inverleith men up in Rubislaw today. Berwick 15, Gordonians 12, another crucial match at the bottom of the table. Lastwade and Falkirk, sadly, is a victim of the weather, and the other result or scoreline at the moment, Newton Stewart 12, Stirling County 0, and don't forget Stirling County are not 100% out of the woods either, so we'll be keeping an eye on that one. National 3, Allen Glen 16, Boroughmuir 5 is the latest score. Cartha Queen's Park 0, Orkney 12, Dumfries 5, Preston Lodge 14. A bit of a celebration match for this for Preston Lodge, who won promotion in their last game at home to Orkney. Hamilton 0, Hillhead Jordan Hill 7, and Howe 5-7, West of Scotland 0, all latest scores. And Garnock, the undefeated Garnock, are 90-0 up at home to Dunfermline. It's half time in the East Bowl match. That's the semi-final. Earlston 5, Lismore 0. Not a high scoring game, but that is a latest score.
next time.
Music from Jerry Rafferty playing on Rugby Radio, not far away from kick-off here at Beveridge Park. It's Kirkcaldy playing Peebles in National 2. Latest scores we have for you in the Premiership is Glasgow Hawks 5, Kelso 3, Heriots Blues 21, Selkirk 0, Cammy Meagher getting his second to add to the other try by Graeme Wilson. In National 1, Dundee 7, GHA 3, Glasgow Accies 7, GHK 0. If it remains like that, and I'm sure it won't, I'm sure there'll be plenty of scores in the second half of these games, well, Dundee are safe and GHK will go down. In National 2, it's now Aberdeen Grammar 22, Stuart's Melville 14. They desperately need those points, but Berwick are doing well as well. Berwick 28, Gordonians 12, a bonus point for them, including a penalty try by Ryan Wilson and Jordan Jackson as well going over for that one. We'll get the other try scorer for them a little bit later on shortly, but Aberdeen Grammar and Berwick 5 points apart, but games running out, just a couple after this one to go for both of them. Newton Stewart 12, Stirling County 0. As we know by now, Lasswade and Falkirk is off, and Kirkcaldy against Peebles coming up at 3 o'clock live. Commentary right here on Rugby Radio. In National 3, it's currently Allen Glens 21, Boroughmuir 5, Cartha Queen's Park 0, Orkney 12, Dumfries 5, Preston Lodge 14, Preston Lodge the champions, Hamilton 3, Hillhead Jordan Hill 14, Hamilton without a win this season, Howe 5 14, West of Scotland 3, into Division 4 it's Garnock 19, Dunfermline 0, and in the East Bowl round 2, which is of course the semi-final, Earlston 15, Lismore 0 is a latest score. Well, yesterday I popped down to Mansfield Park to have a wee chat with the captain of Hawick, and that is Sean Muir. So Sean, you've finished the top of the pile for the second year running. Still some work to do though.
Definitely, yeah. It's obviously massive to finish top of the table with the advantage that comes after that with a home semi-final. But like you say, we knew at the start of the season the 18 games are just a building block to what's to come. So a massive semi-final against Kelso in 2 weeks. We know how tough it's going to be, but we're massively excited for the challenge.
Now in other divisions we've had Ayr and Preston Lodge, who are now crown champions. They've done exactly the same as you've done. They get a trophy, but you're not guaranteed one. How does that make you actually feel? I know rules are rules and everything else, but it must be frustrating.
I wouldn't say frustrating. It is obviously with the fixture congestion now. It's a little bit, that's the most frustrating part. You don't know when the final's going to be. So it's look, we know what it was at the start of the season, what it's set out to be. It's the playoffs. It was the same last season. It adds to the excitement. You get big crowds down here. The club gets a bit of money, but we know the job in hand. We know what we've got to do. We done it last season, so all the focus is on the playoff.
And it is going to be some occasion, isn't it? I mean, you can't take that away from it. There will be a big crowd, a fantastic atmosphere.
No, it's going to be massive. There'll be a huge crowd. I think it could match the final we had here last year. Two Borders teams. This is when you start pre-season in July. These are the games you want to be involved in. These are why you do the hard work during the 18 games to get to this position. And like you say, it's going to be a huge occasion, a massive crowd, and the buzz is starting to build now around the boys.
And I think it's the first time that we've actually had two Border sides in a playoff. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think obviously we weren't lucky enough in the old Premiership to be there, but since it's only been us. I think Selkirk have been unlucky a few times, but the two Borders teams this time is massive.
And you've played Kelso twice this season, first at Mansfield Park, which was one-way traffic, 61-7, something that Kelso won't want to be reminded about. But then you went there to Poynter Park, different kettle of fish. They were very unlucky not to get anything out of it. In fact, they did get nothing, but they came within 1 point of getting a losing bonus and 1 try of getting a try bonus. But they certainly made you work for your points.
They've improved. I think the proof's in the pudding. Their results, they've beaten Curry and Mar at home in the last few months. So we know they've improved. They're not the side that came here in September. But I'd like to think we've improved also from that team. We've got boys back. We are a more settled squad. We've changed the way we play a little bit this year. Our attacking shapes changed. So we're a better team from when we met them in the season, and so are they. So it's going to be an interesting game. But we know the challenges they'll bring with obviously up front, Bruce, Grant Shields, etc. Experienced boys like that. But we're ready for it. If we get our strongest team on the pitch, we fancy our chance against anyone.
And you're fiercely protective of that home record that goes back to October 2019. That's an incredible thing that you've done as a club, and you need another couple of wins, obviously, here at Mansfield Park to keep that intact for another year.
Yeah, I think it's obvious if we stay undefeated between now and the end of the season at Mansfield, we'll lift the trophy again. So, look, it means a lot to the boys playing here, playing in front of friends, family, and just playing out on the pitch for a lot of the people who have went before us. We know what it means. We know what the jersey means in this place. So it's a record. If I'm honest, we don't speak about it too much. It's not really brought up in conversations, but we know we're tough to beat here when we're on our game. So we look to carry that on.
Your last game in the Premiership was at Philip Hawke against Selkirk. You managed to convincingly win that. I think a lot of people are surprised. Probably yourselves as well, to get 59 points at Philip Hawke. It doesn't happen that often, but you also got the Bill McLaren Shield back, which was something you definitely wanted back.
Definitely. We were aware when we were going to play for the McLaren Shield. We knew we'd get a shot either against Musselburgh or Selkirk, the way the fixtures fell. So that's massive, getting that back in the cabinet. But we prepared for a very tough game at Selkirk. They've been a tough team for us in the last few seasons. They've pushed us really close with some good players in the squad, but everything just kind of came off for us that day. Set piece was outstanding, attacking shape. Some of the boys were phenomenal. Backline, Lee Armstrong and Andrew Mitchell were exceptional, and we, like I say, everything just clicked and we put the best performance of the season in.
And you mentioned Andrew Mitchell. What a season he's had. Top try scorer.
Don't want to blow him up too much, but he's been quality. I think 20 tries this season is phenomenal. He's enjoyed his rugby this season, and he's playing with a smile on his face, and you can see that by the performance he's putting out there. He's been outstanding.
And great to see some of the youngsters coming through as well, and people like Owen Gray and Eli Hamilton having a shot against Peebles last week, and it's all about bringing on your next generation as well, isn't it?
Definitely. You need the boys coming through. You need the players to replace some of the older ones like myself, who's not going to be here forever. But Force have done really well this year too. They've won their league. They're going well in the Junior Cup as well. So the future's there. The boys just need to keep progressing. The club need to look after them and put the right pathway in place so they can push to get the place in the first team in the next few years.
Now, you've played Peebles, which was your last game in the Border League, and you're looking very comfortable for the Border League at one, played 4 and won 4, and this would be your 51st title that you're aiming for, which is pretty phenomenal when you consider that Melrose in second place have only won the Border League 20 times, so you're way ahead. Great history to protect there. But now you turn your attention, obviously, to the Premiership semi-final. But you've got a 3-week break. How do you kind of cope with that? Because you'd love to play them next week, I suppose.
Definitely, we'd have loved to just played them after the Selkirk game, but the way I think the weather fell around about January times affected us for that. So like we just need to deal with it. We just need to get on with it. We know the situation now. It's the 2nd of March. We had a lighter week this week training, when we'll ramp it up next week, and obviously the game week will be full throttle ready to perform on a Saturday.
And how's the injury situation? Is everyone there from the squad available?
Yeah, it's looking likely. There's a few boys struggling. Connor Sutherland picked up a knee injury against Musselburgh, but he's been on the field this week running. So, if I'm honest, looking at the 2nd of March, I think we'll be full strength. Well, barring some like season-ending injuries, everybody will be there, and we'll be full strength, ready to go.
And it must be tough as well on players. It's part of the game, is what you buy into. But having a big squad, you could pick any one of 40, 50 players who would do a job for you in the first team. How difficult is it to actually get to that selection point?
It's up to Matty and that to pick the team, but it'll be tough to choose a squad when we've got as many good players in about the group. But look, we're a team. The team comes first, and whatever 20, I think it's 22 in the semis, whatever 22's picked to play, the rest of the boys will support, and we'll look to get the job done, not just for us in the jersey, the 1 to 15 or 1 to 22, just for the group, the club, and everybody a part of it.
Good to talk to Sean Muir at Mansfield Park yesterday, the captain of Hawick, and he'll be hoping, of course, to be captain of the south of Scotland as well. Let's bring you up to date with the latest scores that we have in the Premiership. Glasgow Hawks 5, Kelso 3, Heriots Blues 21, Selkirk 0. Don't forget last night Curry's home record went to Mar, 27 points to 17, so Mar will have a home match in the semi-final of the playoffs against Curry on March the 2nd. In National 1, it's now GHA in the lead. Dundee 7, GHA 10. Don't forget Dundee needing 2 points to survive the relegation. Glasgow Accies 7, GHK 0 is a latest score. In National 2, Aberdeen 22, Stewmel 21. A real ding-dong up there. Aberdeen fighting for their lives. So are Berwick. It's Berwick 29, Gordonians 12 at the moment. 5 points between them before today. Newton Stewart 17, Stirling County 0 is a latest score in National 2. National 3, Allen Glens 21, Boroughmuir 8, Cartha 0, Orkney 17, Dumfries 5, Preston Lodge 14, Hamilton 3, Hillhead Jordan Hill 14, and it's currently Howe 5 21, West of Scotland 17 at Duffus Park. In National 4, it's now Garnock 33, Dunfermline 0. Garnock, of course, unbeaten this season, doing tremendously well. And another latest score we have at the moment, Earlston 15, Lismore 0 in the East Bowl round 2. We've got commentary coming up for the big match here at Beveridge Park in National 2, Kirkcaldy against Peebles.
My soul was weak, my faith was shaken, could barely speak, my heart was breaking.
Strong
from the Space Brothers, playing right here on Rugby Radio. OK, we've been on air for nearly an hour and a half, but now the time's come for our featured game this afternoon in National 2 here at Beveridge Park in Kirkcaldy. It's Kirkcaldy versus Peebles, who are top of the table and chasing promotion. Let's join our commentary team for today, Sam Mathews, and first of all, Dale Clancy.
Yes, welcome along to Beveridge Park, and we've got a top of the table clash in National 2 to bring you. Peebles hunting down the cherished land of National 1 against familiar foes, Kirkcaldy, who have just been led onto the field by their captain Gavin McKenzie and his children Isla and Kai, marking his 300th appearance for the club a few weeks ago. And Kirkcaldy will certainly be up for this one. Quintan, their coach, laying up against Graeme Paterson in the opposite dugout. And Peebles are going to get play underway under their captain Jack Harrison, who's playing in the fly half position after losing the services of Ross Wolfenden to Scotland under-18s. We'll bring you the teams shortly, but play is underway because Charlie McVickers has just blasted his whistle, the exchange referee from the northeast of England, and the ball has been kicked straight downfield to Kirkcaldy. It's been well controlled by Donald Anderson, who's received the ball back and filters the ball to his brother Rowan McKeever, and he charges towards the 10-metre line. Takes a couple of Kirkcaldy players to bring him down as McKeever then gives the ball to Carrier. He tips on to Lawson, and then Ross Brown has stretched open his legs. He's got an opportunity outside him, and it looks like Neil Hogarth is the player there on the wing, charging towards the line, but it looks like he's just been held up short. And great run, great counter-attacking play from Peebles, who know a bonus point victory here is required to keep away Falkirk just behind them in the table. Again, another 40 towards the line. The Peebles players bundle in. That blue and red wall of Kirkcaldy just toeing that try line. The players litter in the opposition. The penalty is going to come the way of Peebles, and I think there's going to be an early card as well because the referee has flashed the yellow card. I think to the winger there, it does look like it's actually Callum Kennedy, the player who's been yellow carded. He just knocked the ball on, tried to intercept it, and flaps the ball down. Jack Harrison kicks the ball into touch, throw into the line out to Peebles. Sam Mathews, let me catch my breath.
Well, I think we can all guess what's going to happen from this line out with a dominant weapon like Matty Carrier from 5 yards out. But what a start from Peebles there. You know, reclaimed the ball very fast after Kirkcaldy tried to clear their lines early, and what I really liked, they attacked the late replacement winger in Aidan Reddick, who came onto the pitch, didn't expect to be playing. He's returned from injury, so yeah, a very good dynamic attack to start the game off for Peebles. Carrier
throws the ball into the line, it goes to the tail, finds Ross Brown. He's been brought down pretty strongly. The referee is saying that has been illegally brought down. The towering second row, who's fought off a bout of illness. And there's certainly some good runs up in the wing there because he stretched his legs to open up that 2-on-1 opportunity, but he's taken a clatter at the line out. So it's going to be a penalty to Peebles. Jack Harrison, the fly half, has again just stabbed it off the field of play and will lock and load and go again. Matty Carrier with a chance to throw into this line out. He's just walking towards the touch line, gets the ball off of the ball boy. The rain is starting to drizzle down here at Beveridge Park, and the experienced hooker now, Matty Carrier, People's top try scorer so far this season with 14 tries, throws in, it's Rowan McKeever. It's been brought down again, and it looks like illegally so yet again. And I think Kirkcaldy are going to, well, certainly it's been what, we've had 2.5 minutes, and they're already on the wrong side of the referee. It's been 3 penalties in that time, already 1 player in the sin bin, and it's another penalty from the line out. So it's going to be Jack Harrison yet again to potentially just try and stab this off the field of play. Does it expertly as well, and it's another chance for Matty Carrier. The Peebles players, the forwards, not had to move too far in the last couple of minutes here. As Carrier turns, takes the last instructions from Neil Hogarth, who starts it at proper game. We'll bring you the starting lineups when we get a break in play. Carrier throws, it's Rowan McKeever who brings the ball down. Now the charge from Peebles, it's powering towards the line, it's almost run aground, but Matty Carrier has packed down the outstretched arm from the match official yet again coming on. The referee signalling there's another penalty, and there is going to be another yellow card, and it does look like this time it's going to be Stephen Milne to get his marching orders. So Kirkcaldy already down to 13 men. Peebles, another chance at the line out, and they're going to have to make this count in the next 10 minutes.
They are, but I like what they're doing when they keep going back to the corner. They're really trying to tighten the screw on this Kirkcaldy defence. They've identified that they can't stop their maul and that they're trying to bring it down illegally. Now that they've just lost their back row player in Stephen Milne, he looks like he was the line-out general for them in this defensive structure, so it'll be really interesting to see how they combat it now for a third time in 5 minutes.
Carrier throws to the tail this time. It's been flapped forward by Kirkcaldy this time, back into the hands of Scott Lawson, who does well to sweep up. He's starting in the the back row position after impressive performances against Stirling and Hoyk, but a knock on from the line out is going to result in a scrum. So 4 minutes played here. Kirkcaldy down to 13 men already from a couple of infringements close to that try line. And it's a scrum put in for Peebles now. The rain starting to get a little bit heavier as the front rows now lock horns and congregate at this set piece. Just straddling that 5 metre line, about 10-15 metres in from the left hand side, just opposite the club rooms here at Beveridge Park in Kirkcaldy. The ball rolled in by Max McKeever. There's a nudge coming on from the 7 men of Kirkcaldy as well as it's filtered to Hodgkiss, and then David Collins is just splinters through the line from the wing. He gets his 11th try of the season, and for probably the opening 5 minutes there you thought it was going to be a forward getting on the score sheet, but it's David Collins again managing to breach that defence and running that acute line, and Peebles strike first.
Yeah, and it was great play by the Peebles backline there. They really emphasised with Jordan Charters hugging this touchline towards the stand side to really expand that defensive line that was missing 2 players. They had to bring a man into the scrum. David Collins joining the line late from the opposite wing, just filtered back inside and, as you say, splintered the defence perfectly right between the sticks. Great easy kick for Donald Anderson to start out in these conditions.
I hope you've not given him the commentator's curse, and it's but it is a relatively straightforward conversion attempt for a man of Donald Anderson's experienced in just a couple runs step up and a swing of that right foot, and it goes straight between the uprights. So it's a 7-point start for Peebles. We've played 5.5 minutes here, and it's Peebles 7, Kirkcaldy 0 at Beveridge Park. Kirkcaldy down to 13 men, and you've got to say it was the break from the halfway line which was really the catalyst for that passage of pressure which was bestowed upon Kirkcaldy there as they slowly amble to make their way back to the halfway line. It's going to be Finlay Smith, their top point scorer so far this season with 135 points. He gets the restart. It's a sclaffed effort into the hands of Scotty Lawson, who charges forward. Peebles get to the breakdown early to secure that ball. Ball filtered back to Jack Harrison, and an unorthodox swing of that right leg at the ball has found some good ground, and Kirkcaldy do well to gather the ball in the backfield to the likes of Ken McDonald and Aidan Reddick, who are going to have to do a lot of work to cover the absence of the fullback for the next 6 minutes or so. Again, getting back there. Lobbed forward by Gavin McKenzie. Been given to another bearded, experienced player, and Donald Anderson this time. He spots a gap and tries to weave his way through traffic. And he does well initially, then brought down just over the 10-metre line. Rowan McKeever finds Matty Carrier, and Peebles are loading up that blind side, and again Ross Brown stretching the legs, gives it to Finlay Collins this time, who scampers back in field but has been wrapped up well by the Kirkcaldy defence. Max McKeever, Scotty Lawson, he bounces the first challenge, goes off one, then two, then hails a run in field. He charges forward straight into the arms of Rory Brown. He's an impressive back row forward for Kirkcaldy. Hodgkiss getting the ball through the hands brilliantly, Dow just onto that, and then Donald Anderson, he's got a 2-on-1 situation, gives the ball to Jordan Charters, who receives it back, gives it to Donald Anderson, drops the ball. Jack Harrison almost tried to pluck that off the ground and get over the whitewash. Then Hamish Bell charges forward and has dotted the ball down, and Peebles made hard work of that, but Hamish Bell eventually getting over the whitewash. And we were saying they need to make it count with this personnel advantage, and it's been 2 tries in the space of 3 minutes here, and Peebles now lead 12 points to 0.
Yeah, and they've done a great job as well. Ross Brown again really making some metres, but giving that ball away before he receives that contact to do it. Great offload by James Hodgkiss as well. Took the ball as he received contact as well, put that out wide. I did want Jordan Charters to try finish it there, show us that speed he has, but to put it back in, and as you say, Hamish Bell took matters into his own hands at the end there and got himself over the try line. So a very good try for Peebles, making use of this 2-man advantage.
Great defensive work from Kirkcaldy, who are obviously down a few key players, but great defensive work from that 2-on-1 to make it a really awkward situation, because the third player there, or the fourth player essentially, was a Peebles player. So there was 3 players there that potentially could have scored that try, and eventually it was Hamish Bell who did get the try for Peebles. Donald Anderson now, right-footed kick, 3 metres in from the right-hand side. A challenging kick for a right-footed kicker as the assistant referees loiter underneath the uprights, and they're safe there because the ball has just went to the right hand side of the sticks. So It's only a 5-point gain this time for Peebles, but a 12-point-0 advantage, and Graeme Paterson and Greg Rayburn in the dugout will be happy with their Charges' efforts.
Yeah, they will. Their forwards are gaining about 4 or 5 metres per carry at the moment. Scotty Lawson and Ross Brown being the epitome of that, but I like the quickness. They get it back out of their own half and get it back to at least the halfway line before they try to play rugby. I think they're doing a really precise and clinical job in the opening 5-7 minutes.
A couple of well-decorated clubs. Peebles just recently celebrated their 100th year anniversary. Kirkcaldy, 150 years. And we're in a real community club here in Fife. But they're finding the opening exchanges of this game tough against the Borderers as Finlay Collins just gobbles up a restart, charges towards the 10-metre line, caught about 5 metres shy of that, and Max McKeever gives the ball to Jack Harrison, thinks he sees some space in the backfield there, but it's initially well covered by Kirkcaldy, and then they stab the ball over the top. It's been swept up well by Jack Harrison, who slides on the ball but knocks it forward because Finlay Smith thinks he saw a little opportunity there for Kirkcaldy, a little gap in behind the Peebles line. Jack Harrison was there, but in these clatchy and sticky conditions it was a knock on, and it gives Kirkcaldy a rare chance with the ball in hand.
Yeah, and I think it would be nice to see Kirkcaldy. They'll look forward to having the ball for at least a couple of phases here. They'll try to run down that clock. Obviously, they've probably got about 8 minutes on the first sin bin. Definitely over 5 minutes on the first sin bin. Probably around 8 on the second. So they'll just want to keep the ball with them for a little while. Try manage that clock over the next 10 minutes. But they'll see what they can get out of this Peebles team in these tricky conditions.
Callum Kennedy is in the sin bin. He starts at fullback. Aidan Reddick and Kieran McDonald on the wings. Owen Boner and Timmy Kennedy are in the centres for Kirkcaldy. Owen Boner's a late replacement for Connor Littlejohn, whose wife has just gone into labour. Gavin McKenzie and Finlay Smith are the half-back pairing, with Matt Collins, Hamilton and Salt in the front row for Kirkcaldy. Seb Evans and captain Rhys Bonnet are in the middle row, with Stephen Mitchell, Kieran Mitchell and Rory Brown in the back row. It's Stephen Milne, in the back row for Kirkcaldy. Peebles line up with Donald Anderson at fullback, with Charters and Collins on the wing, the opening try scorer in this game. Dow and Hodgkiss in the centres, Max McKeever and Harrison in the half-back position, with Hogarth, Carrier and Gray in the front row, with Brown and Bell in the middle row, with Rowan McKeever, Scotty Lawson and Finlay Collins in the back row. The power now coming on from Peebles at that scrum. Scotty Lawson having to break quickly from that exchange there to try and shackle Kirkcaldy. A carry there from Matt Collins, a big turgid, robust front row. He's a young player who's come through the system here at Kirkcaldy. As Kirkcaldy now go through the phases on the halfway line, Hamish Bell bundles a couple of bodies out of the road, but Kirkcaldy arrive with the ball. It's been given to Smith, but that loose pass has ended up in the hands of James Dow. He's been ragdolled as Kirkcaldy have to try and scamper to make this little passage of play a little bit more beneficial, but Jack Harrison sees some space in the backfield, so Jordan Charters has got his spikes back on. He's putting a little bit of pressure on Kieran McDonald in the backfield, and then Neil Hogarth is there. Neil Hogarth and Donald Anderson, a couple of those players who are bearing some scars of some heavy defeats here at Beveridge Park in years gone by. And that's a powerful carry from Rhys Bonner, the captain. A big forearm into the face of the Willen Peebles. Challenges inside their own 22, but Peebles will benefit from a throw into the line out deep inside Kirkcaldy territory.
Yeah, and you have to say that was great defensive play by Kieran McDonald there. He had one of the fastest man, probably in National 2, chasing him down in Jordan Charters, but he handled that well, similar to as he handled the 2-on-1 and getting that clearance away. A good powerful carry as well to set up the team, so a good cover from Kirkcaldy. I wanted them to see them hold the ball a little bit more there, but they'll just have to try now reclaim this ball off this People's line out.
Matty Carrier, experienced ex-club captain at Hawick and double winner in the Premiership and the Cup last year, finds his target in Rowan McKeever, again brought down. Kirkcaldy do not compete, so Rowan McKeever just head down, breach forward and straight into the heart of this Kirkcaldy defence. Ross Brown tips on to Hamish Bell, the second row's linking up well on the 22-metre line. Kirkcaldy try and steal, but Max McKeever does well to filter the ball to Harrison, and then Dow and Hodgkiss link up, the rangy centre partnership. Linking up well as David Collins now takes a little foray into the Kirkcaldy 22. Peebles now a 10-12 metres shy of the Kirkcaldy line. Matty Carrier powers forward, ducks the shoulder and charges, presents the ball back, and Max McKeever then finds Ross Brown. He filters a floated pass towards Rowan McKeever, but it's just been knocked on in contact, and again another dangerous passage of play from Peebles. And it does look like they are going to bring the yellow cards back onto the field of play, so Kirkcaldy back up to a full complement of 15 players.
Yeah, and what a great hit there by Marcus Salt. He really that's kind of what Kirkcaldy needed there. They've gone down 12 points very early to get that defensive hit in, cause them to knock the ball on. That'll be a real momentum builder. Hopefully the home side can get back behind their team now, and as you say, getting back up to that full complement of players will instill a bit of belief back in the home side.
Especially players like Stephen Milne, you feel they've missed a back row forward in this game, somebody to cover the park and the tighter exchanges as well. Over the last few minutes, it's certainly been missed for Kirkcaldy. Just a reminder, 14 minutes gone here. Kirkcaldy 0, Peebles 12. There's a put into the scrum. Again, the nudge coming on from Peebles, and they power over that scrum. I think the referee is going to bring that back and reset it. But it's a powerful effort there. They looked like they were under the pump after the first one, Peebles, but certainly getting the upper hand in the scrum.
Yeah, they have, and as you can see, the second scrum of the game took place right in front of us here, and you can see almost tyre tracks really where the front row of the Kirkcaldy side went backwards there. So it'll be interesting to see if they now try turn the screw. Obviously the conditions are not lending themselves to scrumming, so hopefully we don't spend a lot of time resetting these and the boys can get the ball out playing and give the crowd something to watch.
Trying to do everything in my power not to crack a tyre joke when Matty Carrier's lining up in the front row for Peebles. I think I've done well. There's going to be a put in for Kirkcaldy here. The ball rolled in by Gavin McKenzie, again a very experienced player, and what a moment for him to start the game with his two children to escort him onto the pitch after serving this club so well. The ball is filtered to Finlay Smith, who kicks off the field of play, and it's going to be a throw in to the line out for Peebles this time. Again, still inside Kirkcaldy territory. It's a rainy, wet day here in Fife, and little wind to speak of, but it's certainly challenging conditions. The game at Hawthornden was called off pretty early in terms of the conditions of that pitch as well. The other clash that we were going to be bringing you, Last Wade versus Falkirk, but it's not come to fruition as Matty Carrier throws into the line out. Rowan McKeever off the top finds Scotty Lawson and pops it into his bread basket. Lurking round the fringes, Neil Hogarth now just tucks the ball under the arm, powers over the first challenge and then presents the ball back. And Peebles doing well to retain the ball. Hodgkiss acting as first receiver, and then Harrison does well to hold the line. Collins then looks to try and find Jordan Charters, but the ball has just touched the fingertips of a few players as it's exited the park. And I think the last one there was Jordan Charters, because I think he got a touch of the ball in flight. It's fumbled forward, and I think it potentially, it's going to be a line out there for Kirkcaldy, but again, dangerous play with the likes of David Collins coming off his wing. It
is, and what we noticed when we were coming up today, based on the club website, the original team sheet, obviously there was a last second change, but there was only one or two players actually in their recognised positions, in Finlay Smith, the 10, and the winger, Karen McDonald. They are only actually in their recognised positions, so it's a real, almost makeshift back line due to injuries for Kirkcaldy this late in the season.
Hamilton throws into the line out, it's went to the tail, and the aforementioned Finlay Smith has had to scoop up the ball, the fly half doing well. And now Kirkcaldy look to try and go through the phases, and Scotty Lawson was bundled over, but it just grabs onto the ankles like a limpet there and tries to drag the Kirkcaldy players down as they enjoy a period of time with the ball in hand. Again, McKenzie looks to find a forward this time, and it's big Matt Collins who's charging forward and then splintering through, right through the middle of that. The breakdown is Rhys Bonner, with the captain just charging forward, and then it's onto the hands of Stephen Milne, who looks to secure the ball. And now the lovely locks of the front row forward there for Kirkcaldy. Ball in hand, charging forward, and they think they see some space in behind. Donald Anderson's having to go back to cover and looks to go on a mazy of his own, left-footed kick downfield, and he's made great territory from that, because it looked like it was almost going to be an iffy decision from the experienced fullback, but manages just to hack the ball off the field of play.
Yeah, really managed to work well with an angle that was not for him there, especially, as you say, a left-footed kicker. But nice to see Kirkcaldy get some play with the ball. They've shown they've got runners. That back row between Milne and Brown really gained some metres there, and as you saw, the two props, Matt Collins and Marcus Salt, both got that. So they've proven they can play it and they can keep this ball. So now it'll be a job for Peebles to kind of regain that dominance they had in the first 8 minutes of this tie.
A relatively experienced front row for Kirkcaldy. One of them, Craig Hamilton, a homegrown player. He throws in close to 100 games for Kirkcaldy. And then breaking round the side of that line out, Ross Brown is passive in the challenge and allows Kirkcaldy to steal a couple of yards. And again, a powerful carry there from the back row forwards from Kirkcaldy. Smith then linking up with the unblemished outside centre there of Timmy Kennedy, the twin brother of Callum at fullback, who got the yellow card earlier on in this game. And Peebles look to try and choke the life out of this contact situation, but Rowan McKeever has just stolen a march now at the hands of Jordan Charters, uses some good footwork and then some power to try and bundle over his opposite man. Ross Brown splinters through the defensive line, was almost scythed down by big Kieran Mitchell, who had lined him up from a couple of days ago. I think he'd went pretty early, but the referee let that one slide as Max McKeever digs about at the breakdown, then gives the ball to Jack Harrison, equally as adept at scrum half as well as Anderson, then gives the ball to Dow. Great offload to Davy Collins, and back in field he looks to go round the Kirkcaldy defender, but knocks the ball on, and again Peebles shown intent to attack from deep.
It is, and it's one of those things with a bit better ball retention. Obviously Dave Collins flung the pass out as he was getting tackled on this side of the pitch. Now it's happening on the other. He needs to just try calm it down. You don't need to score off every phase, but as you can see, getting that ball out wide, targeting Aidan Reddick on that side, it's going to be a long day for him, I think, based on the game plan of this Peebles side in the opening 20.
19 and a half minutes gone. It's Kirkcaldy 0, Peebles 12 here at Beveridge Park, and Peebles have got off to a lightning start, but rugby games can have plenty of twists and turns on the way. It's certainly not an unshakable lead here as they look to throw into the line out again. Kirkcaldy on their own 10-metre line. Take their time, a little bit of movement at that line out, but eventually they're able to find the hands of Seb Evans, an adopted Welshman here in Fife. Smith now looks to pass the ball on to a powerful carry from the number 8 there, Rory Brown, training with the Cali Reds ahead of the Inter-District Championship. Smith then floats the ball over Jordan Charters, who's been caught off his wing. McKeever is looking to charge back, and it's Max McKeever who looks to take his opposite man into touch. Mackenzie tips the ball on to Matt Collins, and Kirkcaldy now a sniffing opportunity as Mackenzie floats the ball to the powerful Rhys Bonner, the captain for Kirkcaldy, and he stands tall in contact and then is brought to ground. The Kirkcaldy players get there quickly, but Pearson through Owen Bonner and thinks he spots a little chance in the middle of that breakdown there. Mackenzie finds Smith. Smith then takes the ball to the line, and then he's tackled by Neil Hogarth pretty high, who gets his body over the ball, looks to try and turn the ball over, but Kirkcaldy on the 22-metre line, slow played out. Give the ball again to big Matt Collins. He bundles his way towards the 22-metre line, and Kirkcaldy taking play down to a pace that they're happy to look to steady the ship and control the ball. Mackenzie gives the ball to the hooker, Craig Hamilton, who gets a rare foray with the ball in hand. Some players are working hard off of their wing as a big challenge almost came in there from John Gray, who lined up the player there coming round the corner, and Neil Hogarth gets over the ball, and I think at the last depth he just went off his feet, but the referee, the match official Charlie McVickers, had spotted that as a textbook turnover there from the experienced front row forward Neil Hogarth, and it gives Peebles an opportunity to kick downfield.
Yeah, and Kirkcaldy will be very unhappy with how they've performed there. Obviously, Karen McDonald did such a good job in front of the stand side here to keep himself in touch and play through it, but yeah, you just need to get your men to the breakdown there. Kirkcaldy will be kicking themselves, especially the hard work their forward pack had done in the previous phases leading up to that turnover by Peebles.
Yeah, always very disappointing when your forwards put in the hard work and it does not bear fruit in the end, as Matty Carrier just lines up just directly in front of us. The last words with the evergreen Neil Hogarth. He takes his position on the 5-metre line, then Matty Carrier floats the ball over the Kirkcaldy jumpers to Rowan McKeever, who's going to have to work hard to get this ball back, gives it to Neil Hogarth, who then looks to just go direct and try and take it forward. Bell as well to usher the Kirkcaldy players out of the road. Ross Brown then takes the ball forward but is isolated slightly and looks like he's going to be guilty of running down a dark alley, because the work there of the second row, Seb Evans, has resulted in a penalty for Kirkcaldy, and on the 10-metre line it gives Finlay Smith a chance to kick down this touch line on the stand side here at Beveridge Park and find touch and give his side an attacking line out. Yeah, and exactly as you said, Seb Evans there, he was the one that actually disrupted that maul for Peebles. I find it really interesting. Peebles are really trying to target that second pod in a line out. They very rarely go into the front ball, if at all. So that could be something that Kirkcaldy could really look to utilise if they can get a jumper up just in front of that second man in the line out. A mop of the brow from Craig Hamilton in these sticky, clatchy conditions. And he's got the ball hoisted above his head, ready to launch this ball into a blue shirt. A bit of movement at the tail, and it's a good line out. The referee happy with that, and they go straight off the top. Matty Carrier's having to just scrag on to the Rhys Bonner. They look to depart that congested area after the line out. Mackenzie barking the orders to some of his big carriers, and one of them, Stephen Milne. He's up towards the 22-metre line and has to contort his body to get the ball back into a favourable position for his side and allow the ball to be distributed to Smith, who links up with Mackenzie on the wraparound on the 22. Looking to unlock this Peebles defence, and it's It's an area of Peebles' game that has been very impressive so far this season. But Kirkcaldy are testing it over this period of time now. The ball from Bonner lifted to Smith. Smith looks to try and use sleight of hand to unlock the defence, not able to this time. And now it's up to Rory Brown to charge forward, and he takes a couple of players every single time he's got the ball in hand to bring him to ground. And Kirkcaldy are as close as they've ever been in this game to getting over that whitewash and getting some tries. Owen Bonner cuts back in field, again engulfed with the red and white hoop shirts of the Peebles players. As Stephen Milne, again hares towards that breakdown on that acute line, and now it's Bonner. Again, 3 players to try and take him down. The ball's been spilled, but then ends up back in a Kirkcaldy hand. The referee has got a good look at that as McKenzie looks to find Smith, but back in field, lurking there was the captain Bonner, just on that fold back inside. And he perhaps has run into a little bit of traffic, but the referee is signaling that Peebles are off their feet. Kirkcaldy are going to go quickly. They just charge down and hare it towards the line. Now 2 metres shy of this Peebles try line. They look to pick and go round the corner. Kirkcaldy keeping it tight now. Just going round the side of the fringes. The referee is having a little look at that as well and has signalled that the try has been awarded. And it is the captain, Rhys Bonner, who's the last to rise. And he's been a powerful runner throughout this whole game. And it's no surprise he's one of the players rising up with the try.
Yeah, exactly. As you've alluded to, Rory Brown, number 8, and Stephen Milne. Besides his yellow card, Stephen Milne, he's had a very impressive opening first quarter of this game. He's been really dynamic in the run game as well. But as you alluded to there, it's all about ball retention in this wet weather. You don't strive for that extra metre, that reach. You just keep it with you. You know your opposition can't score while you have the ball. You pile on that pressure. In these conditions, a foot could slip. Somebody's going to miss a tackle. Somebody's not going to get the grip they want in a collision. And they've got their just rewards for what was a very dynamic and consistent set of phases there for Kirkcaldy.
Conversion attempt successful as well, as it's very similar to Donald Anderson's effort. It's just ghosted over the top of the uprights there from a very casual run up. So Finn Smith gets the extras, and he is one of 13 homegrown players in this Kirkcaldy side. And looking last night, you could probably argue all 19 players from Peebles are all homegrown. So it's a club versus club battle here in National 2 as Jack Harrison gets play back underway, lumps it downfield, and it's been guddled by Kirkcaldy, but eventually the bobbling ball lands into the hands of McKenzie. He swings a right leg, it goes up in the air, doesn't make much in the way of distance, and Peebles will get a throw into the line out just outside the Kirkcaldy 22.
Yeah, and they'll like that territory, as you say, just outside the 22 there. But Matty Carrier, he's such a weapon from a line out, not only with his ability to drive and maul, but his arrows are always accurate. He's a very consistent player, and that's something that's really helped this Peebles side this year in this push for promotion.
Matty Carrier throws into the front. He doesn't find his target this time, Sam Mathews. So it's Kirkcaldy are looking to try and break free from inside their own half, and they do that through Kieran Mitchell. He makes a very attritional run forward, and now Bonner just batting players off at will. James Dow was the first one to get a paw on the mush, and then the next one was Rowan McKeever, who was able to cling on for dear life for the big marauding number 8. And obviously you can see why he's on the radar of the Cali Reds, the current reigning and holding inter-district champions, after they defeated the South at Braidholme last year. And that run has led to a kick downfield from Kirkcaldy, replied to by Peebles, and Donald Anderson kicks the ball up towards the halfway line, and it's just in front of the scoreboard that currently leads Kirkcaldy 7, Peebles 12 after 27.5 minutes played.
And what a great territorial victory for Kirkcaldy there. So they've just moved out from their own 22 now into Peebles territory. They will really look to build on that, and as you say, Rory Brown and Bonner, they're having a field day in collisions just as the Peebles forwards were in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, these conditions have perhaps played into the hands of Kirkcaldy as they go short from the line out. A good link up there and good awareness from Craig Hamilton and just lurch on the touchline, but it's been stolen there, and Rowan McKeever, he's got the knees up because he's just hacked it downfield towards the 22 metre line again, and Aidan Reddick just hacks the ball off the field of play. I think he perhaps had a little bit more time, but he just thought, I don't fancy a mazy back towards the Peebles line, and he just kicks it off, and it's a throw in the 22 to Peebles.
Yeah, but also I think Aidan Reddick, he's a scrum half by trade. He has been since I've known him at uni. He's a very good one, but you can see it there. He just looks a bit uncomfortable in that wing, don't you? As you say, he's not used to that time being in that position and almost how to handle that situation. But like you say, when you've got a whole pack of forwards running after you, it's not the easiest thing to be the one to pick up the ball.
Carrier throws in, and again it's been flat back against the head, so Kirkcaldy, they get the ball in hand, and Peebles will be wanting to try and make sure that they just force an error here or some pressure, because their set piece is certainly not ticking now. And Carrier not able to find his target in the last 2 throws for his side. Kirkcaldy throw the ball deep to Finn Smith, who then stabs the ball downfield, not able to escape as 22, and Hogarth and Carrier are having a little conversation on that touchline, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and go back to what they were doing in the opening 10 minutes in terms of the set piece.
Yeah, like I said, I think I'd like to see them try go up at 2 here and just get Carrier a bit of confidence back in. You don't want to get a hat-trick of missed throws, so yeah, really interesting to see how they do, and I think Finn Smith probably could have done with a few more phases in the attacking fit before he had to kick that ball out.
They go to the tail, and it was gathered down brilliantly there by Peebles, but a little faux pas as they were congregating on that drive and maul has resulted in a free kick to Kirkcaldy. So an easy let off, and Peebles not able to exert their territorial pressure on this side. And Finn Smith gets the chance to kick downfield up towards the 10-metre line. It just breaches that line, and again it'll be a throw in. It's a throw into the line out to Peebles. The assistant referee had signalled the wrong way. It was a free kick, so Peebles will throw into the line out, and again they'll be hoping this time that they're able to find their target, but it does look like, Matty Carrier, a little confusion there, and then a shriek from Graeme Paterson in the dugout saying it was their throw. So Matty Carrier does make his way towards the touchline, and he will throw in as Sean Crombie just walks in front of us at the moment, ex-Scotland age grade in Edinburgh hooker. He'll be watching on these line-outs with keen interest as Matty Carrier finds his target this time. And Max McKeever finds Jack Harrison, then Hodgkiss, who's been a bit of a spectator for the last 10 minutes, finds Dow. Dow then gives the ball to Anderson, and Anderson just scoops the ball forward. And on half an hour, that's again another error that's creeping into this Peebles game. A little reminder that Peebles are definitely chasing that bonus point victory here. They're currently leading by 5 points, but they're wanting the full complement here from Beveridge Park. But over the last 10-15 minutes, they've come under a little bit of pressure, and they're certainly gifting a lot of territory and possession to Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, you'd be forgiven for thinking this is the second half with 10 minutes to go, wouldn't you? They're clearly hunting for those 4 tries, but it's not coming in. As we said, with the conditions, you have to be patient. You have to earn your tries in weather like this, and Kirkcaldy will be used to it, so they have to be clinical, and not only that, but they have to be attritional.
Thrown at the front as well, gathered. Finn Smith then filters the ball to Rory Brown again, just deployed to truck the ball up as Smith gets the ball through the hands, and now the centre partnership is linking up, and Peebles have now been breached again. Kirkcaldy are in behind as they kick the ball forward, and now it's a foot race to the line. It's been brilliantly gathered by Kirkcaldy, who stretch over the line, and it's a try for Callum Kennedy, and it's been brilliantly worked. Weak defence from Peebles, and now we're all square at Beveridge Park after some innovative work from the home side. And after getting yellow carded after the first minute, he's certainly made amends, because that was a brilliantly well worked try from Kirkcaldy, and they draw things level.
Yeah, not only that, not only Callum Kennedy getting the war on the touchdown there after having to run through, great awareness and great dynamism to be able to contort his body to get the ball, but his brother in the centre, Timmy Kennedy, he was the one that made that big break, absolutely ran over James Dow, I believe it was, just outside there, but having that awareness to kick through as well, a real collector's piece try, and a really well worked one as well, and as you say, all square with a kick to come with Finlay Smith, who's playing very well as well.
Just a reminder that earlier on in the season, when these two sides met on the 4th of November, there was a Peebles victory by 46 points to 17, so a bit of a gulf between the two sides on that occasion. But at Beveridge Park, Peebles have seldom found things easy, as the conversion attempt splits the Kinlan, so Kirkcaldy take the lead, and it's a brilliant conversion attempt from out wide. And it's now Kirkcaldy 14, Peebles 12.
Yeah, and you have to say, based on the last 15 minutes, that's been a real power swing. Obviously, Peebles have made errors, but on that, Kirkcaldy have capitalised on it. They've been really strong in their running. They've earned these 2 tries. They've earned their way back into it after what was a very rabbit in the headlight start.
Harrison with a restart, kicks downfield. There's not much of a chase in it. David Collins is the first up for Peebles, and Kirkcaldy again using their big forwards to try and power out of their own half. This time Seb Evans. And now it's the number 8 yet again, Jack Harrison, who really shucks away from a big collision. His task was trying to take down Rory Brown at the second time of asking. Now the brothers link up in the backfield, casual as you like from Rowan McKeever. He's got Anderson outside him, but he doesn't opt to use him this time. Carries forward, and Donald's going to have to be there quickly to try and secure the ball. Kirkcaldy can't make enough of a fist of it, so it's given back to Jack Harrison. He kicks downfield, he thinks he's found some space, and Finn Smith is waiting there. The ball bounces up kindly for the head-banded fly half, and he returns it. Donald Anderson waiting there, just scoops it back into his own 22. He then hails it towards the defensive line, a banana kick downfield, a low stabbing testing kick for Gavin McKenzie. He then puts his skates on, burrows the head, and then charges towards the Peebles line. It's been returned. Jordan Charters underneath this one. He's got Jack Harrison in field, who checks his run and then right-footed swing, kicks it downfield, bounces on the 10-metre line. It's caught Finn Smith out this time. So in terms of finding a little bit of a break, Peebles benefit there as Finn Smith then puts an end-over-end spiral in as Jordan Charters then runs in field, kicks the ball high in the sky. It's a testing one for the fullback there. Kennedy, who manages to step Charters. Good footwork from this fullback there. The twin brother, as they say, dangerous in open field. He's already got 6 tries this season. You can make that 7. And Kirkcaldy are up on the halfway line now after that game of aerial ping pong. And you can see their game plan is to give it to their big runners and try and break through that defensive line. There's a space in behind. The box kick is being chased back. Max McKeever is having to watch this one back, and he gathers the ball. He's up on his honkers pretty quickly, and then to his feet and right-footed kick downfield, and that's a brilliant clearance kick over the 10-metre line. And now Kirkcaldy looking to try and break free. Good challenge as Hodgkiss just threw himself, as Max McKeever actually threw himself at the feet of the Kirkcaldy runner. McKenzie there, Bonner. A great carry forward by Brown. And McKenzie now going blindside, and another big charge forward by these big turgid Kirkcaldy forwards. And defensively, Peebles are having to be tested here and not able to roll away at the breakdown quick enough so they concede a penalty, and it's going to be interesting to see what the options here are for the home side. They hold a 2-point advantage here, and as we approach the end of the first half, 35 and a half minutes gone here at Beveridge Park. Kirkcaldy 14, Peebles 12, and they're going to the corner.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, as a former forward, the ferocity that this Kirkcaldy pack are attacking the defensive line of Peebles with is such an energy drainer. You have to be back up, but knowing that, you have to be alert. You're almost trying to think about where the next phase is as you're trying to get up off the ground, and as the ground gets wetter, the mud clings to you, you get heavier and heavier, and it just drains out your body. So a real effort in just sucking the life out of this Peebles side by the Kirkcaldy team, and now they have the rewards with a line out in the Peebles 22.
This could be a bit of an arm wrestle here as the ball, unorthodox gathering at the tail there by Rory Brown, but it does end up in a Kirkcaldy hand. But the challenges that came on from Peebles resulted in a knock on, so Peebles have the ball inside their own 22. The referee is going to bring that back for a scrum put in, and towards the end of this half you could probably say Peebles could ill afford to concede. They'd probably be happy to go down the tunnel with a 2-point deficit, but they can ill afford to concede at this point.
Yeah, that's it. They'll want to keep the ball. They'll want to just they'll want to feel like they've got some control back in this game. They've been quite rushed when they've had attacks as well. You've seen how quickly they want to get it wide. That is a game plan. They have the weapons out there, but Graeme Paterson would like to see his team feel like they've got a little bit more control in the final 4 minutes before this half-time whistle goes.
Kirkcaldy only won 3 of their last 11 games. In that period, the teams they were able to defeat were Aberdeen, Stirling and Berwick. One of those victories on the road to Ruby's Lot. The rest of those victories come here at Beveridge Park, and the nudge comes on from the scrum. McKeever, he finds Harrison, and again that high kick has been watched all the way back there by Owen Bonner. And you do feel Peebles are perhaps starting to feel the pinch of the absence of Ross Wolfenden at fly half, a player who from the boot could perhaps control a game like this and kick his team in the right positions. Matty Carrier over that ball does well to try and gather, but eventually knocks the ball on. So the referee is going to award a scrum put into Kirkcaldy, but how big is that miss of Wolfenden to this side? It
is, it's huge, and not only that, he's been a real talisman for the crowd down at the Gates as well, but he's really rejuvenated the team around him. Also, on the talk of just having that experience there, what an interesting battle is Max McKeever versus Gav McKenzie. They're two real opposite ends of the scale in terms of their careers. Gav McKenzie, obviously, it was like over 300 caps or something you said he had for him, so he's got bags of experience. He knows how to marshal his team around the pitch. Max McKeever, he needs to listen to the wiser heads around him, but he needs to know when to take charge as well and make decisions for himself. So Gav McKenzie, especially at these scrums, he'll be in his ear all the time trying to get in his head. So yeah, experience is key.
We do have players such as Donald Anderson at fullback, who has spent years and years as a fly half in Peebles colours, who perhaps could step up and orchestrate things as well for this side. And David Collins can also slot in at scrum half, and so there's interchangeable positions here for the visitors, but they started at blistering pace. It's just kind of simmered somewhat. It's allowed an opportunity for Kirkcaldy to come back into it. We said at 12-0 as well that rugby games tend to have a lot of twists and turns, and this is one of them. And Kirkcaldy are holding on to a slender 2-point lead as we approach half-time here at Beveridge Park in National 2. The ball effortlessly rolls at the back of that scrum, and Finn Smith runs towards the line. He's been well shackled by Jack Harrison against the grain now. It's again a marauding run from the number 8 there, Rory Brown. And Kirkcaldy, they sniff an opportunity before half-time. Neil Hogarth over that ball, not able to steal it back, and the powerful carries from Kirkcaldy, getting onto their feet and getting round the corner and offering up options for their scrum half, Gavin McKenzie. Slowing down. An auxiliary scrum half comes in, and Finn Smith gets the ball away quickly. It's been scooped away and almost running up into themselves there, but eventually it does open for Timmy Kennedy. They almost run out of options there, but somehow the defensive line opened, and all of a sudden he had a sniff of a try, and Peebles conceded the penalty, not rolling away at the breakdown yet again. And Kirkcaldy are going to go for a pop at the post, knowing that half-time is approaching, and it's a wise decision from Kirkcaldy, who know that really what they want to do is take a scalp. They want to put a real sucker punch to this promotion bid for Peebles, and they just need to win the game.
Yeah, and I really like that call. Put that 5-point deficit in. It's 2 penalties to get themselves back in the lead coming out at half-time. It really makes that a lot more daunting than it feels, and as you said, it's also a sinker in terms of mentality. They now have to go in with that 5 points down. But yeah, I really liked what Kirkcaldy have done after that first 10-minute scare. They've really got a handle on this game, so it's all to do for Graeme Paterson and his men in the half-time team talk now.
Smith, right-footed kick, and it's successful, and the referee does bring the half-time to a close, and it's been a blistering start from Peebles. They got off to a 12-0 start. The tries from Davy Collins and Hamish Bell, one converted by Donald Anderson, and we thought it was going to be one-way traffic after that. We thought Peebles were perhaps sailing towards that bonus point victory, but a lot of teams can ill afford to get complacent at Beveridge Park, and Kirkcaldy came back into it. It was a try from Bonner, their captain, from close range, and then a lovely effort from Callum Kennedy, the fullback, and finally a penalty there from the fly half Finlay Smith means at half-time here in this crucial match in terms of promotion from National 2 at Beveridge Park. It's Kirkcaldy 17, Peebles 12.
Exciting stuff here at Beveridge Park, thanks to Sam and Dale. And of course, as it's National 2, I think it's just about a 5-minute interval for this one. The players staying on the pitch. We can go pitchside though, because Hugh Brown is there with a very special guest.
Thank you very much indeed, Stuart. Yes, welcome down to the front of the stand. And with me is John Methven. John is a very special chap because he has reported on Kirkcaldy games for, over 60 years actually, and indeed is a former president of the club, now honorary vice president. That's right, John, isn't it?
That's right.
So tell me about you've been reporting on the club since I think 1960, is that right? Writing on them.
Writing since 1962.
1960, so it's 61 years. You had to give up because of your eyesight, sadly.
It's getting worse and worse too, and I'm also fairly lame. Getting around's not always easy, but I recognise the shapes of players, and I make do quite well.
But you edited the programme here at Beveridge Park for 60 odd years?
57. 57. A game against Howe Fife in the Midlands Cup in April 1950.
Not much about this club you don't know then?
Not a great deal. I wrote the first history of the club in the centenary year, which is 50 years ago.
And you must be very privileged and proud that they've made it to 150 years.
Aye. Once or twice. Back in the 80s, there was a huge crisis. We couldn't afford to pay the rates. Discovered there were all sorts of sports clubs in Scotland had the same problem. And there was a huge campaign. We were at the House of Commons lobbying MPs, and the treasurer of the time, he was on television. And eventually the whole thing was wiped out.
And that made a big difference then?
It made a huge difference. We were paying the same amount of money as Worcestershire Cricket Club, whose ground holds 12,000. Anyway, we thrived after that.
You still enjoy the game then, even though perhaps your eyesight's failing a bit, you still enjoy the game?
Still enjoy the game. There's no game like rugby.
And the family very much involved. I spoke to obviously your daughter Anne earlier on today, who's the current president of the club. Your grandson Murray is signed to Glasgow Warriors.
Yeah, he had a shoulder injury nearly a year ago, and it didn't work out, and he had to get it again. So he's taken up refereeing. So he was refereeing at St Andrews today. So he's on the man to watch list from the SRU for refereeing.
Well, that's where we'll have to leave them, because it's now the second half.
Play back underway here at Beveridge Park, and it's been kicked off by Kirkcaldy, and it's Finlay Collins with the first carry, and he's just been bundled to earth again. As this inspired Kirkcaldy side are certainly looking to try and leave their mark on Peebles. A couple of replacements on for the visitors. I can see Kenny Clyde and William Napier are on the field of play, replacements for Peebles. And we'll bring you the players that have come off. I can see Hamish Bell is one of them, and also Scott Lawson the other. Kick downfield from Peebles, well fielded by Kirkcaldy on their halfway line. Mackenzie gets there quickly. Now the forwards again looking to try and filter forward. The turnover there from Peebles looked like, for Rowan McKeever, for all wills and intents, looked like it was certainly a legal one, but the referee, quick with the whistle, penalised them. You know, on both sides, you know, they've benefited from really sharp decisions from the match official.
Yeah, and it's what I liked. He's been consistent throughout. You know, he's really set his stall out on the rolling away as well. So you just have to give that exaggerated release of the tackle. But yeah, nice, clear, concise reffing so far. So nothing to complain about from either side, I feel.
Donald Anderson manages to gather the ball because it's not kicked out, but he's kicked it infield to Finn Smith, who has a chance now to run with the ball in hand. He's been marshalled there by Ross Brown, Kenny Clyde, Jack Harrison all there. The final one, Kenny Clyde just flops on the ball, and now Rory Brown charges forward. You know, an important cog in the Kirkcaldy wheel in the first half, and now Kirkcaldy are through. It's Kennedy and Timmy Kennedy this time, as Kirkcaldy make their way up towards that 22-metre line, and a shell-shocked Kirkcaldy side in the opening 10 minutes certainly look like a completely different team now. Around the corner now, Kenny Clyde is guilty of scooping the ball back. The referee signalling he's coming in at the side. Kirkcaldy get another penalty. They look to try and go quickly. The referee is going to bring that back, so it's going to be an interesting decision here from the home side. 17 points to 12 they currently lead. 2 minutes into the second half. And Peebles have 38 minutes to try and get the victory, and then try and get that all-important bonus point as well. Smith kicks the ball into the roof of the Kirkcaldy clubhouse here. And Kirkcaldy now have a chance to start the second half with a bit of pressure of their own. Slow saunter towards the line out. And dry the ball finally from Craig Hamilton. He straddles the touchline and quickly rifles the ball in. It's been brought down, it's rolled off the back of the Kirkcaldy players and then into the hands of one of their own, and the referee signals that there's a penalty. And a little rumble of noise from the Peebles travelling support as well, who welcome that decision from the referee. And Jack Harrison now has a chance to kick downfield, and he finds a good touch just over the 10-metre line, and Peebles will welcome that little error from Kirkcaldy at that driving maul.
They will, and Kirkcaldy will be disappointed with themselves. Craig Hamilton got the throw right. It was just a timing issue. His pincers for the maul, they just got there that split second before, and as you mentioned, he just brought the ball down on the top of his own player's shoulder, bounced out, players in front of players, always going to be a penalty, and now, as you say, Peebles get to release that pressure that they'd really worked hard on at the start of the second half.
Matty Carrier now, again, demonstrating how difficult these conditions are. It doesn't look like a lot of grip on that ball as well. He's got the ball above his shaved head now and manages to find Ross Brown. McKeever had a couple of options there, and it ends up getting scragged. The referee signalling there's a high challenge there, so it's, depending on what the outcome of this penalty is, it's a good gain for Peebles because they've kicked themselves out of their own 22, and then from the high challenge they might be able to kick themselves further downfield through the boot of Jack Harrison, and he does just that, and it's up towards the 10-metre line yet again, and Peebles slowly but surely creeping their way towards this 22-metre line and looking to exert some pressure of their own.
And as you say, people are going to be really upset by that in the Peebles, in the Kirkcaldy camp. They've lost half a field worth of territory in about 3 phases of play, so a really bad spell there for Kirkcaldy, and it's all totally self-inflicted. So that is going to be something they're really struggling from. Is Matty Carrier's just saying that he can't quite get the ball dry using his own clothes?
No, I think he was looking for a ball, and I think he was suggesting that he was perhaps smuggling it underneath his shirt, but he's finally got his hands on one of those eluded match balls that we've got here at Beveridge Park. And again, you can see how clutchy the ground is underneath his feet as he floats the ball to the tail of the line out. Rowan McKeever gathers the ball, and then a rugby league pass to Kenny Clyde, who's bounding his way towards the defensive line. It's maybe not swashbuckling rapid rugby, but it's effective there from Peebles, because Kenny Clyde made some good ground. And now Collins, the younger brother of David Collins, is charging forward, looking to try and impose himself on the game, similar to what the half-back, the back row partnership has for Kirkcaldy. But now interlinking play, Donald Anderson floats the ball over the heads of the Kirkcaldy defence, and it's just went loose there. An opportunity for Peebles now in the hands of Callum Kennedy. He was shackled before he could escape his 22, and Finn Smith now clears the danger up towards that 10-metre line, and Peebles from the opposite side will throw into the line out and be looking to try and deploy some of those big ball carriers again. But you know, that is where Kirkcaldy perhaps have the upper hand of their visitors, is the physical confrontation with the ball in hand.
They do. We saw it in the back row of Rory Brown and Stuart Milne. They've had great first halves, but once again, another case of Peebles. They're trying to score on every phase of play there. You saw it. Jack Harrison did a great job of looping around and getting it to Donald Anderson. As long as you're not too close to the touchline, take it in, reset. You saw how many metres Kenny Clyde made, so just be a bit more sensible with it from the Peebles team.
Again, an overthrow from the line out. It's not been firing 100% for Matty Carrier thus far. So Finn Smith then stabs the ball downfield, and Donald Anderson's having to roll the years back and get across to cover that space. Does well, and then hacks it downfield, and James Fowler, the assistant referee on this side, watches it float above his head, and Donald Anderson only able to really clear in 20 metres or so. So Kirkcaldy benefit from that overthrow at the line out. Some sloppy play from Peebles, and Kirkcaldy with 6.5 minutes gone in the second half, hold on to the 17 points to 12 lead.
Yeah, and what a frantic second half it's been so far. We've been up and down the pitch, so as you can see, both teams are clearly trying to play in the right areas, and it'd be interesting to see how that goes out, because the kicking battle between Harrison and Smith has been very close so far.
I think Smith perhaps edges it. I think Harrison is perhaps not been as effective, but the ball goes to the front, and it's into the hands of Seb Evans, and then the big ball carriers again are deployed midfield, and it's Stephen Milne who's been tasked with charging forward, and then against the blind set is now in the hands of Milne, and the forwards now collide as Marcus Salt looks to go charge forward, and the referee is bringing this back for a penalty. Again, offside, and the referee I think is going to have a conversation with Jack Harrison. We don't benefit from the luxuries of a ref mic this afternoon, but he's having a conversation with Jack Harrison, and Peebles can certainly, you know, they don't want to be caught in a game where they're giving away penalties, giving away cheap territory, because for one, they're not winning the scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly, and not only that, it's the same penalty they're giving up. Neil Hogarth, I think you can see the urgency if they want to get the ball back and they want to get the try, so they're leaving their hands and they're not rolling away as quickly as they could, and if those start to build up, we saw in the first 5 minutes how happy he is to show a yellow card if he believes somebody's deliberately infringing, so Peebles will have to be mindful of that.
Kirkcaldy have opted to go for a pop at the posts on the 15-metre line, just 5 metres behind the 22. So the head-banded Finlay Smith, who's yet to miss this afternoon, has a chance to kick over the uprights and split the kindling here. A slow, steady, staggered run up and a right-footed kick, and it's got a low trajectory, and it's true, and it's through the uprights, and Kirkcaldy stretch their lead here. And we've played 48 minutes, and it's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12.
In the Premiership, it ended Glasgow Hawks 17, Kelso 15, Heriots Blues 33, Selkirk 10. In National 1, Dundee 7, GHA 38. These are all full-time scores. Glasgow Accies 31, GHK 12, and Highland 17, Gala 17 is a half-time score. That Dundee loss means it's that they're still a National 1 team for now. GHK not getting anything out of their game either. National 2, Aberdeen 29, Stumel 45 is a final result. Berwick have got their bonus point win. Berwick 29, Gordonians 24, Newton Stewart 24, Stirling 12, and here at Kirkcaldy it's currently 20 points to 12 to Kirkcaldy.
Line out deep inside the Kirkcaldy half is going to be thrown in by Craig Hamilton, and again it's an unorthodox line out, but it's been gathered by Stephen Milne, who has to pirouette out of trouble. and then duck his head down and charge towards the defensive line. But again, these big, robust Kirkcaldy forwards are making some good gains in the tight exchanges as Finn Smith has to kick downfield. Watching in the backfield is Davy Collins, who's a very dangerous exponent in the backfield. Donald Anderson just gives it back to Davy Collins, and now he's looking to try and make head of steam through and splinter through the Kirkcaldy defence. Does well to get up towards the 10-metre line. Kenny Clyde then gives the ball and distributes it quickly from that breakdown, and it's stabbed downfield by Donald Anderson, and it's been watched closely there by Callum Kennedy. Good footwork as he gets out of trouble, tries to find himself into some open exchanges with his striking yellow boots, but he manages to evade his 22. The referee is keeping a keen watch on this as Gavin McKenzie digs about with that breakdown and then gives the ball to an on-rushing forward as Kirkcaldy ask this Peebles side to defend from deep away from their own try line, and then given to Finn Smith. He kicks downfield, and Donald Anderson again is watching that just over the halfway line. He floats a delicious ball into the hands of Jack Harrison. He's sizing up his options. One of them is Davy Collins, and then he's just hearing it forward and gives it to James Dow. He goes back in field and then is tackled well as Max McKeever then gives the ball to Neil Hogarth, who charges forward and burrows his way through a couple of Kirkcaldy challenges. Great physical play from the front row forward. A physical specimen. Used to play on the wing and now in the front row, and certainly is not shirking away from the physical battles. He's got the ball back off of Davy Collins and then tries to float it back in field. It looked like it almost rolled down the back of a Kirkcaldy player, but good defence from the home side. But a little bit more ambition there from Peebles.
Yeah, and you can see they're running with just a bit more purpose. Neil Hogarth, he's a real dynamic runner. Obviously, he's moved. The number on the back of his shirt's got smaller as he's gotten older, but he still possesses that pace. But not only that, he possesses that 5-yard blistering assault, and he's getting a bit of just reward with his rest now. But yeah, another great defensive put up by Kirkcaldy there. So a really interesting fact of how this team can handle this pressure, and now we'll see with the Kirkcaldy half.
There is a replacement on for Peebles. It's John Napier. But as we approach the first quarter of this game, it's 51 minutes gone here at Beveridge Park. It's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12.
Premiership and National 1, we've given you the results in the National 2 as well. The National 3, Allen Glens 29, Boroughmuir 15, full-time results. Cartha Queen's Park 5, Gorkney 29 is the latest. Dumfries 12, Preston Lodge 33 is a final score. Hamilton 3, Hillhead Jordan Hill 33 is the final score. And Haworth 552, West of Scotland 41 is the latest score.
A penalty there for Peebles because at that line out it got scrappy, and the penalty does go the way of the visitors, and Jack Harrison's lining this one up, and he's just, I think, shanked this one, and it's not going to go off the field of play, but it's been watched there closely by Aidan Reddick, and it's going to be a 22 dropout. And a little mention about John Napier, just recently celebrated his 22nd birthday. And him and his friends made their way to Edinburgh to go to a gig that they bought, a comedian, only to find it's actually next year. So there's a good bit of knowledge there for the replacement front row forward for Peebles, John Napier, one of the many homegrown players here, donning the red and white colours of Peebles. Jack Harrison gets the ball off the 22 dropout, floats the ball to Davy Collins, who then goes back in field. He's been met with a stern challenge from Kirkcaldy yet again, who have brought on the services of Jack Denton. Peebles to McKeever, both McKeevers linking up there, Max and Rowan, the latter of the two, charges forward as Max gets the ball and gives it to Matty Carrier, who's been somewhat quiet with the ball in hand in open play. Another replacement there is Buster Davidson, who's replaced Jordan Charters for Peebles. He makes his way towards the breakdown as Peebles enjoy a bit of possession with the ball in hand. Donald Anderson now takes the ball stationary, bounces back in field, and the flailing arms of Kirkcaldy are able to bring the fullback to ground, but he gets a knee to the deck to bring to the end that passage of play, and Rowan McKeever then ducks forward, and Finlay Collins grabs on to the coattails of his teammate. It's distributed to Kenny Clyde. The body's there from Kirkcaldy, not rolling away, so there is going to be a penalty coming the way of the visitors. A reminder, a converted try still doesn't take Peebles into the lead. We've played 13, 14 minutes here in the second half. It's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12, and Jack Harrison does find touch this time with the kick.
Yeah, and how much this game really turned on its head, kind of similar to the first half there. Now Peebles are in a real ascendancy at the moment. Kirkcaldy are just trying to weather a storm. They need that back row to get themselves on the ball again, get a bit firing. But yeah, real attacking play, and you've got players like Carrier, like Clyde, Ross Brown as well, real drivers with the ball in hand. So they're just going to try push this through now. And as you said, they need to get more than a converted try to get themselves back in front in the driving seat.
A little bit of time off as the ball boy lobs the ball over this hedge here which surrounds Beveridge Park, and I don't know if we're playing with one ball, but there's certainly few and far between here at Beveridge Park. But Matty Carriers does eventually get his mitts on the ball, and Gabe gives it a good clean and a rub with that towel. He's then positioned deep inside the Kirkcaldy 22 with the ball above his head, floats it towards Rowan McKeever, who gathers the ball. It's been brought down, but it's a squint throw from Peebles. And again, the errors are filtering into this side's game, which is going against them. They know a victory is the minimum that is required from this battle and from this game. It would open the door for Falkirk and potentially even Larswade and give them a chance to get promotion from National 2. As it stands, Peebles would still sit top of the National 2 table, but their destiny would not be in their own hands. Kirkcaldy now have a put into the scrum. The scrum's just honkered down and ready to collide as the referee controls the situation as Gavin McKenzie rolls the ball in. The nudge comes on from Peebles and it's filtered away to Smith. He then right-footed kick, tries to get it downfield, but it's skewed off the field of play. And I think James Fowler perhaps tried to steal a few yards there. Yeah, I think even from this angle that was a bit ambitious from the Peebles assistant referee. But the referee did tell him to move back down the field a little bit more, because it's going to be another throw into the line out. And again, Matty Carrier is hunting for a ball. And the Peebles charges, and Kirkcaldy forwards line up, eagerly awaiting the arrival of the ball back into play. The Peebles players well spaced out, and it goes to the tail to Ross Brown and off the top to Kenny Clyde, and then it's straight to the heart of the defence, and it's almost opened up for the big marauding second row. He's been brought to ground, and now Peebles have an opportunity, and it's knocked on at the first attempt there from Max McKeever. And Peebles, and what you needed there was a bit of composure, a bit of patience, and it's evaded them this time.
It's exactly like I've said. You just need to slow it down. It's tough when you get that break in the gap. You know, everybody gets excited, your heart rate goes up a bit, especially so close to the try line. But as you said, you wanted a player that was just able to go, where's my next pod? Where does the next phase come from? Can we now manipulate this? And unfortunately, Max McKeever, wet ball, people still flying in over the ruck, legs get caught in different places, and unfortunately it's a knock on, and now Kirkcaldy have a chance to get back out of their own 22.
Chance here. First scrum for replacement John Napier. And also the first scrum for Jack Denton for Kirkcaldy. He's lining up in the back row. The ball rolled in, the nudge comes on from Peebles, and it's charging forward, almost a breakaway there, but it's steady at the back from Kirkcaldy. Smith under a bit of pressure, he kicks it downfield, it stayed in the field of play and been well watched by David Collins, and then given to Donald Anderson. He's got Buster Davidson outside him, but he's going to go back towards the touchline. He's running into a bit of traffic here, Donald Anderson, and he's almost isolated, and he's isolated himself. Run into trouble, and Kirkcaldy were hunting in packs there, and they were able to pounce on the wounded Peebles fullback, isolate him, and they get possession and territory back, and they get a chance to kick downfield. And that opportunity over the last 8 minutes or so for Peebles has now passed them by. Kirkcaldy kicking towards Peebles' half.
Yeah, and probably the one player we haven't mentioned that much in the back row for Kirkcaldy today, Kieran Mitchell. He was the one that got that turnover. He just lulled Anderson in a false sense of security. He invited him on, took the collision, dropped him down straight over the ball, and then as we saw, William Napier, he just came in straight out the side just to make sure that Peebles didn't lose that ball, and in the process gave away the penalty. And now Kirkcaldy are out of their own half in 2 very quick phases of play, and they've not actually had to touch the ball for it.
Scotty Lawson back on the field of play. He's going to replace John Gray. There'll be a little reshuffle in the forwards, but Kirkcaldy throw in. It goes towards the tail. It's accurate this time, and they distribute the ball wider. And Smith then and gives on to the impressive Rory Brown. perhaps been the standout player in this game as Smith stabs the ball downfield. Anderson does well to gather and then lumps it back, and it's an awkward kick to try and gather, but luckily for the Kirkcaldy backfield players, it's went off the field of play. And Donald is steady at the back and he's assured at the back and gives you that composure to release that ball back downfield. But again here, Kirkcaldy in a very attractive position to get the ball to their big forwards, maraud upfield, try and make some hard yards, and then put Peebles under pressure and try and get some penalties.
Exactly that. You know why Donald Anderson's in the team. Obviously, you've got two young centres in front of him in Hodgkiss and Dow. Yeah, Jordan Charters on the other wing, who's not the most experienced. He has all the raw talent and capability, but he still needs to get that rugby brain about him. So that's where Donald comes in. He just sort of marshals the team around him, especially, like you say, when Jack Harrison's having to do makeshift 10 roles. Wolfenden's kicking a bit. Wolfenden's not there to kick. Anderson comes in to replace that, but like you say, they're now pretty much having a line out from the exact same on the opposite side of the field. The back line's actually more staggered in a correct format, so it'll be interesting to see how Kirkcaldy attack this one now.
Okay, some quick results for you if you've just joined us. It's Glasgow Hawks 17, Kelso 15. We'll get reaction from that later in the programme. Herricks Blues 33, Selkirk 10 in the Premiership.
Kirkcaldy throwing the line out, and that one didn't look like it was that straight, but the referee, who feigned to go with a whistle then decided not to, as the big player in Marcus Salt just runs round the corner, charges forward, and again then deployed to Rory Brown and presents the ball back, and we know what's coming from Kirkcaldy, and a dip of the shoulder there from William Napier, and returning from the military to put on his club's colours. It makes a good challenge, and Peebles now having to defend in numbers to try and dislodge this Kirkcaldy attack, but Finn Smith gathers the ball as it was hacked into the air. It made all of about 5 feet as it was an easy ball to gather for the fly half, but you can see the Kirkcaldy players are just lined up, just ready 2 yards away from each other in close quarters as, again, big number 8, Brown, bashes forward, Mackenzie gives the ball to inside centre, Bonnet. He then tries to run laterally across the field to dislodge this Peebles defence. Mackenzie gets there quickly and gives the ball to his hooker this time, Craig Hamilton, who's been steady at the line out, perhaps a little bit steadier than his opposite number. Mackenzie finds Smith, he goes back in field but is clattered, and the ball just ends up in the hands of John Napier, who was perhaps not expecting it. It's probably not the only thing he's not been expecting this week, because he was expecting to be a comedian during the week, but it wasn't there either. So Harrison now kicks downfield, he sees some space in. I think on a drier day that's a really challenging kick, but it's been guddled there by Kirkcaldy. Buster Davidson is all over that because Cairn McDonald is not having the best of times in his own 22. The ball has then been knocked forward. Buster Davidson gets the ball, but the referee has already signalled there's a penalty there, and I think the penalty is going to go the way of Kirkcaldy. A little bit too keen at that breakdown. And when opportunity knocks, you're expecting a door to open somehow. It's been firmly shut in the faces of Peebles there as Kirkcaldy slowed the play down. It looks like to be a player taking a little bit of a stretch. That's Finn Smith, the fly half, who's been instrumental in this game, and he'll be needed to kick the ball downfield because currently Kirkcaldy still holding that lead. We've got 18 minutes left here at Beveridge Park. 18 minutes for Peebles to try and clutch their destiny again back into their own hands, because currently they're relinquishing that towards one of their rivals in Lasswade, but probably namely Falkirk. As from the penalty, Kirkcaldy kicked downfield just outside their own 22, and there's going to be a couple of replacements. As on at the field is Ross Lithgow, and also a return of Stephen Milne.
Yeah, and as you say, Buster Davidson unfortunately did all the great work there, held up Cairn McDonald on his opposite wing, but unfortunately he just got his hands involved in the ground after he hadn't managed to successfully convert it into a maul. When it's just the two of you there, the referee's always going to see it, and unfortunately once again they've just taken that pressure off Kirkcaldy and allowing them to try and regather themselves. Now, as you say, players like Stephen Milne coming back on the pitch after having a 10-minute rest, he'll be just as prolific as he was in the first half.
I plugged them in and given them a little charge, but Peebles managed to turn the ball over the line out, and this is just what they need. Ross Brown again secures the ball, carries forward, doesn't make much in the way of ground, but a tip on there to Kenny Clyde, who's made a big impact off the bench. Max McKeever then to Dow. Dow's got some players outside of him, one of them's Donald Anderson, and he floats the ball into the path of the fullback, who does well to gather. He sticks his fingertips onto that ball and is able to clutch it and maraud forward, and now William Napier pierces through a couple of Kirkcaldy defenders. McKeever finds Rowan McKeever, and now Matty Carrier, who just runs into the stomach of Ross Lithgow, a replacement for Kirkcaldy Brown out the back door to Harrison. Harrison then evades the first challenge and then clattered, rolls and rotates to ground and presents the ball back. McKeever then finds Lawson. He's fighting to try and get a knee on the ground, but just not able to this time. And Kirkcaldy look to choke the life out of this contact situation, but Peebles do well to get the ball back on their side. There's a bit of a bun fight in there. The referee signals that there's a penalty to Kirkcaldy. And 15 minutes to go here. It's all going the way of the home side. And it's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12. And certainly the penalty count is racking up against the visitors.
Yeah, and how much have we seen at this game? They do so well, get themselves into a position. They just can't sustain it. They make that little mistake. You can put some of it down to the conditions, but ultimately Graeme Paterson, he'll be really upset with what he's seen there in terms of just not finishing off these opportunities that they've had so far. And as Finn Smith's done all afternoon, he just kicks his team back out of the danger zone.
Yes, he's kicked downfield. Another throw into the line out to Kirkcaldy. Last one was turned over and given back to Peebles. Is a little bit of encouragement from we're almost in like a little Peebles zone here, aren't we?
We actually are.
Right in the back of the stand here at Beveridge Park. The spectators trying to issue some rallying calls to the visitors to try and breathe some life into their promotion push. They know as a club how important it is for them to try and step up another rung in the ladder. And Kirkcaldy could be one of those teams to take the wind out of their sails. The ball in midfield is dropped but eventually gathered by the replacement there, Michael Brooks, who's a late addition to the squad after the slight reshuffle. Some of the go forward play from Kirkcaldy has certainly come out of their repertoire in the last 20 minutes or so, as the ball's distributed to one of the big on-rushing forwards again. Reece Boner this time. He was the opening try scorer for Kirkcaldy in their surge to overturn a 12-point deficit. Finn Smith giving a little nudge with a shoulder as he kicks downfield and gives it to Donald Anderson, who's having to watch this. He's got some support in field. Buster Davidson's one of them. The ball almost floats over his head, but he just knocks the ball on. He looks to try and take the ball forward and then coughs possession up towards Kirkcaldy. And it's an unforced error deep inside Kirkcaldy territory, and sum that one up for us, Sam.
If I knew what happened, I'd probably be doing a different job. I'd be doing some sort of psychic show, because to us it looked like he'd caught it, done all the hard work, and then just dropped it. There was no rhyme or reason for it, and he'll be kicking himself now. You can see he's got very quickly back out to his wing to try avoid the gaze of the crowd, as you know, experienced players like Gav McKenzie and Finn Smith. I think you saw it was Callum Kennedy as well, letting him know that the reason they are now in this position is because of him. So he'll have to have a short memory for the next 5 minutes and try to get his hands on the ball again to make up for it.
Yes, I've been a winger at this pitch before, and I mind getting run over by a number 8 as he on his way to scoring a try in that corner where Buster Davis sitting. So I know how he's feeling just now in People's colours, but it was certainly an unforced error, and the spotlight was firmly shone on him during that passage of play. It's resulted in a centre field scrum. The nudge coming on from Peebles, it's twisting and contorting in there, but the ball has then been kicked out. Rowan McKeever is all over that, and then the ball is knocked on, and good pressure there from Peebles. They win the penalty, and Buster Davidson can perhaps breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, they'll be very upset as well. I was watching the second row's feet for Kirkcaldy there. They were just getting nothing out of the ground. You were watching them just slide. They almost like they were running on a treadmill, but Jack Harrison's taking it quickly to get the team downfield.
You have to. You've got to kick that quickly in this passage of play. He's still got his hands on his hips, perhaps not happy with the way it went, but he's nudged his team 30 metres down the field of play. They've still got the ball in their possession, and it's directly in front of us, and it's a chance for Matty Carrier to try and find his arrows. It's been an area where things have not went well for Peebles this afternoon. A round of applause and a bit of encouragement from the supporters. They throw it to the front this time, and Finlay Collins just launches a ball back to Max McKeever, who's then bundled on by the hooker Craig Hamilton. Kirkcaldy thought they potentially got the ball, but Napier then thinks he's spot some space up this stand side, and he hares his way towards the 10 metre line. Kirkcaldy up quickly in defence and put a bit of pressure on the big ball carriers that Peebles are looking to deploy. One of them is Ross Brown. He throws the dummy and then looks to ride the challenge. He takes a couple of Kirkcaldy players with him. Peebles not looking to exploit the blindside as much as they did in the first half as Kenny Clyde picks and goes forward. Peebles at the breakdown now. Charge forward again. Scotty Lawson this time, and then it's in the hands of Max McKeever. Rowan McKeever now, who's been one of the pick of the bunch for Peebles this afternoon. Harrison playing at fly half, floats the ball into the path of a whole clutch of players. One of them potentially could have been a Kirkcaldy player, but has been knocked on by Peebles, and they cough up possession again. and with 12 minutes left, 11 minutes left in this game, Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12, it's time's ticking away for the visitors.
It is, and you saw it with the urgency of Jack Harrison again, and he'll be really annoyed at himself. He thought the pass was on, but as you said, he almost threw a hit and a prayer there, wasn't it? Kieran McDonald was herring in off his wing to try and make something of that, and as it comes now, obviously Timmy Kennedy's actually gone off for Kirkcaldy, so he's missed in the inside centre channel, but Kirkcaldy know what they're going to do, aren't they? Rory Brown, Stephen Milne, Rhys Bonner and Seb Evans, they're just going to carry this now and just really try to take the time out of this clock and give Peebles that urgency and force them into more mistakes.
We've got 10 minutes left here. I would imagine we've probably got about 3 minutes of rugby, because it's going to be one of those games that is going to be stop-start, and it's going to be strewn with errors, but Peebles from the initial scrum look to march it forward. They win the penalty, and that's what they're needing to do, because they get the chance to kick downfield, and there's another wave of encouragement from the travelling support. And to the right hand side of us here at Beveridge Park, there's the stand is full. It's great to see in National 2 and Club Rugby. This is a very well attended game, and even towards the club rooms it's a heavily packed banking with brollies up and people watching on, and most of the brollies are donned in blue and red, the Kirkcaldy colours. But there's a few bobbled Peebles hats surrounding us here in the stand as Matty Carrier throws into the line out, and he's accurate this time. McKeever, it's not challenged, so he just turns and runs, presents the ball back, and it's been picked up there by Ross Brown. He tries to get his knee to the ground there, Max McKeever. And then the ball is tipped on in Napier, and William Napier supported by brother John. Max McKeever's got some options there. One of them is Jack Harrison, and gives the ball to Buster Davidson, who just knocks the ball forward, and Kirkcaldy then have a chance to counter-attack, and they're broken free from their 22. And across there was Finlay Collins sliding on his knees, and he put in a crunching challenge, because Kirkcaldy could have potentially been in behind the Peebles defensive line, and now scrapping at every last bit here. Peebles looking to try and get that ball back in their possession. The carry forward again by the big powerhouses that Kirkcaldy are able to deploy. McKenzie to Smith, and Smith is having to find a pocket of space to kick downfield. He's kicked it to Donald Anderson. Buster Davidson running infield for support. He runs a cut and almost gives up possession again, but he's run into a high challenge, so Peebles have won the penalty. And there's been a couple of errors in Buster Davidson's game in the last 10 minutes, but he did well to gather the ball. He took contact well and bought the penalty as well.
Exactly, did that. He managed to collect the ball and step inside at the same time. Ironically, that was a harder ball to take than the first one, which he dropped. So yeah, very well done, and as you say, drew the penalty out there for the high challenge. So he's got his team back within sniffing distance of the 22 of Kirkcaldy. So now up to Matty Carrier and his forward pack to get this ball down and get them playing with less than 10 minutes to go. And
the ball has just been kicked over the bush again. Hamish Bell, who's was replaced, the second try scorer for Peebles, he was quick to try and tell the ball boy to go and get it, and the ball is safely in the hands now of Matty Carrier, who's again, I think he's going to get carpal tunnel or something from washing that ball this afternoon. He's had to utilise that towel quite a bit. It could turn out to be one of Peebles' best players, that towel, as the ball's thrown into the line out. Rowan McKeever gathers, and again Falkirk not looking to compete, but eventually they do. They look to suffocate that ball, and it's stuck in there. You can see the white of that ball, which has just been recently cleaned by Matty Carrier, but it's been brought into them all there by Peebles. It's been coughed up because the defensive work round the fringes there by Stephen Milne was expert, and he's done well to win possession back for his side. And I think there's going to be a rotation again in these big heavy forwards, as it does look like there's going to be, certainly Seb Evans is back onto the field of play. It does look like a return to the field for Salt as well. So a couple of replacements there for Kirkcaldy, and this is an important period of the game.
Yeah, it is, and as you say, Stephen Milne getting that ball, he was on it like a limpet. He managed to get his arms right round Rowan McKeever, not the biggest frame in the back row battle today, so getting that ball down and actually suffocating out that thing after obviously the penalty, a real straight, and now Gav McKenzie with the experience to just let this scrum play out.
Scrum put in again, the nudge coming on for Peebles. It punctures up, but the ball is then given away, so it's shepherded away from that scrum, and the player going forward is Owen Bonnet, the inside centre, and then a big physical carry again by Rory Brown, who has little care about his own personal well-being when he's running into contact. Kirkcaldy are now just looking to run down that clock. We've got 6 minutes left here at Beveridge Park. It's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 12, and Finn Smith kicks downfield. He's not made great ground from that. Donald Anderson gathers, he's sizing up his options. He's wanting to keep the ball in hand, and he's going to have to run to somewhere where there's a bit of support, which that is not a bad option. There was a little sigh from a few people, but perhaps not a bad option as Matty Carrier then carries with the ball forward. There's numbers up on this side after a break out of the defensive line from Kirkcaldy, but again they plug that gap and Peebles have the ball in hand, but again still a million miles away from that try line, and that looked a sore one there for Scotty Lawson. Perhaps fortunate about this slippy, clatchy ground as David Collins then breaks out the line, and Scotty Lawson's still on the ground in a bit of pain from that challenge. He got his body caught in a really awkward position as the ball is filtered across to James Dow, who's under a bit of pressure. He's been charged back over the 10-metre line. Peebles are currently down to 14 players as it's been given out now to Buster Davidson. He charges back in field, he breaks one challenge and then is got on the second attempt, presents the ball back, and then Max McKeever gives it to Rowan, again puncturing through, great offload to William Napier, and another one there to Matty Carrier, and he's been gobbled up by the Kirkcaldy defence. And now Kenny Clyde, who's going to pin the lugs back and duck the shoulder and try and charge over this defensive resilience that Kirkcaldy have shown so far in this opening 75 minutes of this game. 5 minutes left at Beveridge Park. There's 8 points to overturn, and Jack Harrison then gives the ball to James Dow. He looked to try and evade the first challenge, then the second, but the Kirkcaldy defence do well to number up on the dangerous outside centre, Matty Carrier. He almost breaks free as well as he looks to pierce through. A couple of players are scragging onto the shirt as Ross Brown tips the ball on into the path of Hodgkiss, who the rangy inside centre has to do well to try and fight and keep the ball in hand. Rowan McKeever looked to try and break free and pick the ball and go, but he's knocked on, and there's another opportunity past Peebles by. And Finn Smith now passes the ball back in field, and Kirkcaldy time on their side and a numerical advantage on the scoreboard as well. Cough possession up, and there's going to be a scrum put in here as the heavens open at Beveridge Park, and Hamish Bell is going to come back onto the field of play. I think Scotty Lawson is the player being withdrawn after taking a sore one in contact. And we've got 4 minutes left here, Sam.
Yeah.
At the moment, not even a bonus point for Peebles is going to be the reward for their efforts. So it's an important 4 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, not a losing bonus point, not a try bonus point, nothing in sight. And as we said, they came into this day wanting to get 5, so they'll be very disappointed if they don't get something. Jack Harrison did a good job to actually return the ripping the ball favour to get themselves to stop the play. I think time's gone off as they're trying to figure it out. Maybe just come back on. But yeah, Jack Harrison's managed to get Kirkcaldy stopped. No chance of a quick break. Get the ball down, and they'll be looking to try win this back in the scrums because they've had a few against the head this afternoon, especially in the second half.
A few worn down fingernails in the stand in front of us from the travelling spectators. It's nervous stuff for the men from the Gates as they look to try and clinch promotion to National 1. They know a negative result here certainly takes everything out of their own hands, and it is probably a result that few seen coming. They've only slipped up this season so far to last Wade, a narrow defeat at the Gates, and then a somewhat one-sided defeat on the road to Newton Stewart, and then a draw against Newton Stewart at the Gates. They're the only times that Peebles have not come up as the best side on the day, and today in difficult and challenging conditions, this could be the third side to defeat Peebles so far this season. The scrum nudging forward from Peebles, but the breakaway from the back of the scrum by Roddy Brown takes possession away a little bit further afield, but the penalty is going to go the way of Peebles. They go quickly. Rowan McKeever, he gives it to Hamish Bell. He has just been ragdoll round the shoulders. The referee with the outstretched arm. Penalty still to come, but time is against Peebles. They charge forward yet again, and then into the hands of Hodgkiss, and he dives towards the line. He tries to stretch forward, but to no avail there. And then another burrow forward from Matty Carrier this time. Look to try and present the ball back, but there's going to be another penalty, and it's going to go the way of Peebles as the referee comes and sets the mark centre field. And it's an interesting decision here for the Peebles captain Jack Harrison, because he's got a couple of options. Do you honeypot everybody centre field and put the scrum on? Do you go for a penalty to get some sort of bonus point from it? But I think you need to. I think it's risk and reward here, isn't it?
I think it's really interesting because you need 2 scores in some form, don't you? You need a converted try and you need a penalty, or you need 2 converted tries. So as you say, you take the 3 to start off with. That guarantees you at least the losing bonus point. They're taking a bit of time off now for injury. It looks like Aidan Reddick's down on the far side, but yeah, a real tough one, and this is where captains really earn their money in their decision making here. But the way it's set up, it looks like Ross Brown's going to go for it.
It does look like they're going to go quickly here. Ross Brown is just lurking over that ball, ready to go. The referee just signaling that there's going to be a replacement, and it's already on for Kirkcaldy. The replacement, Connor Young, coming on for Aidan Reddick, who's been withdrawn from the field of play, and now Ross Brown towers over that ball, quick tap, and then burrows his head forward. He tries to get towards that line, but again, defensive resilience, it stands firm for Kirkcaldy. Another chance there, and over the line. It does look like Matty Carrier has bundled his way over, the top try scorer for Peebles with 14 tries, make that 15, conversion to come. Peebles 17, Kirkcaldy 20 with a conversion to come. And that's an important try for Peebles.
Yeah, and as we've spoken about the back row of Kirkcaldy all day, but it was the main men there, wasn't it? It was Kenny Clyde, it was Matty Carrier, it was Ross Brown right from the penalty. They just knew exactly what they wanted to do. As you said, lugs down, head forward. They're not taking a backward step if they can help it. And now Donald Anderson, he's got a nice straightforward kick in between the posts, which he slots very quickly.
20 points to 19 now. Peebles trail. It's a 1 point game, and you've got to say we've only probably got about 3 minutes left to play here at Beveridge Park, and it's about playing in the right areas as the shirts of both sides are decked out in clar and mud, and you can see the attritional warfare that's gone on here at Beveridge Park this afternoon is etched on the tops and the faces of these worn out players. It's been a physical encounter. It's not been open, flary rugby, but it's been tenacious, it's been physical. And both of these sides, with a combined amount of players of 32 homegrown players between these two sides, get play back underway. It's been gathered by William Napier on the 10 metre line. A low trundle and restart from Kirkcaldy has been gathered by Peebles, who know they need to get any sort of score to clutch this victory here and keep their position at the top of the table. They've got a chance as well for a bonus point victory. It would been made to work very hard for it, but they're going to have to try and secure the ball in hand. It goes into the wider channels. Peebles have to get there quickly to try and secure that ball. Difficult, challenging conditions to go from where they are on the pitch just now on their own 10 metre line to go all the way towards the Kirkcaldy try line. McKeever gives it to Napier, and it's John Napier this time. One of a whole clutch of brothers and siblings and relations on this field of play. Donald Anderson now gives it to James Dow. He looks to try and break through the challenges, does well to stay on his feet because there was little support there. Ross Brown clutches round the corner. McKeever gives it to Rowan McKeever again. He darts back in field, good footwork. He's then on the ground, and Max McKeever's got some options outside him. One of them is Jack Harrison. He gives it to the ever-experienced Matty Carrier. And the Rodden run forward as he takes a couple of Kirkcaldy players to get him down. Kirkcaldy working hard to get back into defence as Kenny Clyde is clattered in midfield and coughs up possession. Hamish Bell now with his hands over that ball. It's a knock on. The referee carefully watching this one. We've got time for the scrum. And it's difficult at this level, and it's for either side, but the defensive line, the offside line, is a difficult one to marshal when you've only got one match official in the field of play. But Kirkcaldy all afternoon have been, and I think brilliantly smart, at just creeping up in ones and twos.
Yeah, I think so. It's a real art in itself. You know, back rows are notorious for it, but you've also got outside centres that are always at it, and as you say, it's so difficult to manage. You can't be looking both ways all of the time. You need to make sure what's going on in the ruck as well, but the refs had a very good idea, but also the teams have played very well to that situation, and both teams have rightly got their rewards with various knock-ons and various collisions that have not gone teams' ways as well. So very well played by both defensive lines this afternoon, I thought.
Put into the scrum now. They cling on together and ready just to rest shoulders against one another as it's rolled in, and the nudge this time does not come to much from Peebles as Mackenzie gives the ball to his fullback Callum Kennedy, who was perhaps one of the catalysts of the fight back from Kirkcaldy. Mackenzie into the hands of Brown, who's been a standout performer in this game for Kirkcaldy as the wind and rain swirls around Beveridge Park, and it's playing into the hands of this Kirkcaldy side as Peebles desperately cling on and try and grasp any opportunity that's going to come their way. Smith filters the ball into the hands of an on-rushing Kirkcaldy player, and slowly but surely they're looking to try and take advantage of any turnover, and Peebles do arrive with the ball in hand. It's now Buster Davidson and Max McKeever over that ball. gives it to William Napier, who's again had another impressive impact off the bench. Kirkcaldy over that ball, presented well, back there by Peebles into the hands of Carrier. He filters it to Jack Harrison, he floats the ball into the path of Donald Anderson. He's got some options outside him, he's hit high there. The penalty is going to come the way of Peebles. They've got a free ball to play with. Jack Harrison looks to go quickly and he looks to find Collins, but the ball has been knocked forward, so it's an opportunity to kick the ball downfield, and now they have time on their side. They've got the ball in hand and they kick the ball downfield, and that is a good game for Peebles there.
Yeah, it's a great game for Peebles there. I wish Jack Harrison had maybe took a slightly longer pause to think about where he was kicking. He could have maybe got inside the 22 there, but as you say, they'll take it. It shows the dynamism they have. They managed to turn the ball over, quickly build themselves down. You'll now want to see that composure come into play like we spoke about earlier in the game.
Matty Carrier with his most important throw of the game, with the mud etched on his face. He's been a warrior for this Peebles side this afternoon, and now he needs calmness and composure as that sclaffed effort has just went squint there from the Peebles talisman. So it's going to be a scrum put into Kirkcaldy. The referee is asking what decision they want. They want another throw into the line out, and Matty Carrier does well to roll the ball over the ground there. You see that the wry laugh from Sam Mathews, perhaps suggesting a bit of unsportsmanlike play there from Matty Carrier.
Tactical play, not unsportsmanlike, tactical.
A quick rub of the ball there from Craig Hamilton, and he does well to wash his face as well at the front of the line out. Both pods are coiled and sprung and ready to get the ball, and down on that is Matty Carrier. So Peebles now have the ball deep inside the Kirkcaldy 22. It's about composure. How calm are Peebles going to be now in their quest for National 1? They need to steady the ship here. McKeever gives the ball to Napier. He's been challenged well, and Peebles are playing with an exuberance that perhaps does not suggest that time is almost up for them here. The contact done there. Kirkcaldy do well to marshal that attack once again. Peebles came out the traps brilliantly well in the first half, and they're going to have to try and end it in similar fashion. The forwards again, Napier ducking the shoulder, charging forward, protecting that ball, as Max McKeever now gives the ball to Kenny Clyde. He rushes back in field, he's taking a shoulder but does well to present the ball back again. Harrison now sizes up his options and has to just hot-footed back in field. He evades a few challenges, ball in one hand, but does well to protect it. It's been plucked up. A carry forward there from big Kenny Clyde, looking to try to get towards that try line. He twists and turns and weaves. He can't get the ball down, but he's now a metre or so shy, and Peebles need to try and get this ball back. They're now lurking round the fringes. They're charging forward. The referee has got a good eye on this as he keenly watches on this passage of play. Peebles can ill afford to be held up or give any opportunity towards Kirkcaldy. The forwards rush in and try and take command of this situation. It's been charged towards the wider channels. Matty Carrier has been asked to try and bundle his way over the line, but he has been held up on the try line there. The referee has signalled that as he was rushing forward, the referee has suggested that he's been held up. He signals there's going to be a goal line dropout here at Beveridge Park, and there's going to be another opportunity for Peebles to potentially attack, because we've got time on the clock here. It's Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 19. We are in the dying stages of this game as Finn Smith eyes up a goal line dropout. He'll want to lump it as far down the pitch as possible, and he's got it up towards the 22 metre line. It trundles over, and Max McKeever does well to gather, gives it to Donald Anderson, and now they're looking to try and play expansive rugby. Buster Davidson powers out a first couple of challenges, and then it takes three Kirkcaldy players to bring him down. Peebles, Max McKeever gives the ball wider, and again the forwards charging on. There's an intent about this Peebles side which has vacated them for the last hour of this game. Rowan McKeever now has been well defended by Kirkcaldy. Calmness and composure, coolness is required as Hodgkiss splinters through. He skids towards the line, presents the ball back. It's ended up in the hands of James Dow. He then floats the ball onto William Napier, now 7-8 metres shy of the Kirkcaldy line yet again. McKeever gives it to Kenny Clyde. He powers over, he makes a couple of hard-earned yards there as the Peebles players and Kirkcaldy players, etched in mud, win the penalty for not rolling away. So there's a chance here. They look to go quickly. Matty Carrier goes. He bundles over the line. Matty Carrier has won it in the death for Peebles. He's gone over the line. He's taken the initiative. He took the quick penalty and just catapults his way through the line. The hooker, who was held up mere moments before, has just won it for Peebles at the death. They've got the bonus point victory, and it is Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 24 with a kick to come.
And what experience from Matty Carrier there. He's came in from Hoyk, he's came back down the leagues, he took the team right with him there. He's just turned one losing bonus point into all 5 points to take away from it here, and you can tell there's 2 teams sat down there in Last Wade right now that will be furious that try has gone over. But as you can see from the stand in front of us, they are absolutely ecstatic. You can see Stevie Mathews, Nizzy, the whole team's there. Graeme Paterson's keeping it quite calm, but the team's there, and as you can see, Peebles have now got in the lead with possibly the last kick of the game.
Conversion to come. It matters not a lot because it's just scarfed to the left-hand side of the uprights. But it is a bonus point victory on the road for Peebles, and the sign of good champions is winning when you don't play well. And they played atrociously for about an hour of that game, but it did not matter because at the end, Matty Carrier stood it tall and showed his experience and took that quick penalty and squeezed through perhaps the biggest of gaps for Matty Carrier. But he got over for his 16th try of this National 2 season, and a valiant effort from Kirkcaldy. It ends up in a losing bonus point for that side, 20 points to 24, but Peebles march on at the top of National 2 and they've been made to work incredibly hard for it.
Yeah, and Matty Carrier, you can't praise Matty Carrier enough. Obviously those 2 last tries, both coming from the big man himself. He's been a real, a rejuvenation in this squad this year. He's brought so much experience, as I just alluded to earlier, but you can see how much it means to the team, the fans. They've really come together as a unit this year, and as you can see, that they never gave up on it. As you said, there was 60 minutes between the second and third try for Peebles. They really weathered a storm where they did not play well at all, but as you said, teams that know how to win are always in it until the final whistle goes, and yet a great performance for Peebles. But commiserations to Kirkcaldy, a very well played game for them.
It was an entertaining game, and after I think it was about a 14-hour debate about Super Series rugby at the start of the show. This is National 2 rugby. This is 2 clubs with 32 homegrown players going hammer and tong on the most disgusting of surfaces here at Beveridge Park, and all the players decorated with mud and sweat, and there's probably some tears in there from a Kirkcaldy side of things as well, and some Peebles as the relief is etched on the face of the men from the Gites. But they did come out the traps pretty well, and in the opening 7 minutes they scored 2 tries, and then they had to rely on 2 tries in the final 7 minutes as well. A brace from Matty Carrier means that tries this afternoon from Davy Collins, Hamish Bell, 2 from Matty Carrier, that mean that they accumulate a bigger tally than the ones from Kirkcaldy. Tries from Callum Kennedy, Rhys Bonner, and then some conversions and penalties littered in there as well from the influential figure of Finlay Smith. But what entertainment we have been treated to this afternoon here in Kirkcaldy at Beveridge Park, and it finishes in National 2 on Rugby Radio. Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 24.
Well, what an ending. 2 tries from Peebles in the first 7 minutes, 2 tries from Peebles in the last 7 minutes. That's the only time they scored in the game, but my goodness, what a result for the men from the Gites, who get 5 valuable points. It really didn't look like that with 10 minutes to go, but after the 9th minute of injury time, Matty Carrier going over for his 2nd try. An incredible story there, and that was his 16th try of the season as well. We'll be getting reaction very, very shortly from both sides of the camps, but let's tell you the results as we have them. We're just waiting on one score to come in the Premiership. Obviously last night it was Mar who beat Curry by 27 points to 17 at Millennium Park. An amazing result for them last night. Today though we did have 2 games being played. It was Glasgow Hawks 17, Kelso 15, and Heriots Blues 33, Selkirk 10 into National 1, and Dundee lost 38 points to 7 at home to GHA. Glasgow Accies 31, GHK 12 is a final result. We have a latest score in the Highland game against Gala. That's still being played at Canal Park at the moment. Currently Highland 35, Gala 27 in that one. Still waiting on the full-time result from Canal Park in Inverness. In National 2, it ended Aberdeen Grammar 29, Stuart's Melville 45. So 1 bonus point only for Aberdeen at Rubislaw. Berwick 29, Gordonians 24, Newton Stewart 24, Stirling County 12 is a final result, and it ended here, of course. Kirkcaldy 20, Peebles 24, most amazing comeback in that game. International 3, Allen Glens 29, Boroughmuir 15, Cartha Queen's Park 20, Orkney 46, Dumfries 12, the champions Preston Lodge 33, Hamilton 3, Hillhead Jordan Hill 33, and 100 points at Duffus Park, Howe of Fife 59, West of Scotland 41. Into National 4 it ended Garnock 57, Dunfermline 0, Greenock Wanderers 32, Ross High 21, North Berwick 35, Perthshire 14. Still waiting on news from Stewartry against Murrayfield Wanderers. Down into the East League Bowl, round 2. It finished Earlston 20, Lismore 0. Earlston getting revenge there. Hoyt Quinns 50, Haddington 19. That was in the Shield. Galloway M 19, Edinburgh Northern 29, and the match between Lindeen and Langham. It's just ended. Hoyt Lindeen 16, Langham 50. Okay, let's go down pitchside. Dramatic scenes we've just seen. The Peebles captain, Jack Harrison, is with Hugh Brown.
Jack, what a finish.
I lost for words, to be honest. I didn't think we were going to do it in the end. We went 12-0 up early on, and they came back and they were strong for the whole game. And then last 5 minutes we managed to get 2 tries to secure the win. So brilliant.
Well, you said it. You started off like a train, 12-0 ahead, and against 13 men, it looked as though you were cruising. But suddenly, Kirkcaldy came back. Yeah, we knew they were going to be strong in the forwards, and they were. We had a job stopping a couple of our players, and they were just getting over the game line. And once they got back into it, they got their confidence, and we struggled to stop them. It was probably one of our poorest performances, but that's all credit to Kirkcaldy. It was some game from them. It was. What do you put that last try down to? Because you were really struggling towards the end, and it looked as though you were down and out, but suddenly you got something from nowhere.
I think Matty Carrier's weight, I think, got us over the line a couple of times there, so we've got him to thank for that one.
And it means that you get all 5 points, and it means that if you beat Aberdeen Grammar School on March the 16th, you will be champions and promoted.
Yeah, that's what obviously was a goal. We thought it was slipping away from us there, but we stuck at it, and that's all we can really ask for. I suppose you make your own luck, and thankfully we came away with a result in the end.
How do you feel about these boys in the team today? Because they stuck in, kept with it, and even as I said, when you looked as though you were beaten, they got through in the end with that dramatic finish. Yeah,
we've got quite a few young lads who haven't played an awful lot of first team rugby, and we've lost quite a few players. Mordo Anderson, our captain, Will Aitken, Ross Woolington, and it's for people to come up, people to step up from a second team who haven't actually played that much rugby. Young Max McIver's come after, hasn't played a great deal of rugby and had a cracking game, and that shows the depth that Peebles has got coming through the youth system just now, and it's more. That wins more than just a team. It's a club. We need that to go up to manage to keep players at Peebles, and hopefully we can go up to Aberdeen and finish the job.
And it means the destiny of the championship is in your hands. If you win, then you're champions.
Yeah, and I know it won't be an easy match up in Aberdeen without any means. We beat Newton Stewart up there, so it will be a tough match. But we'll have to sharpen up on a few things before in a month's time. So.
Congratulations, I'm sure it will be a happy journey back down to the Guides tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Jack.
Hugh Brown with Jack Harrison, and he's going to go through the mud now, is Hugh, and he's going to try and get reaction from a Kirkcaldy player, certainly a Kirkcaldy point of view very, very shortly. What we can do, though, is have some reaction from last night's game. It was a win, of course, for Mar against Curry. It was Curry's first home defeat of the season, their 5th in the season altogether in the Premiership, and we caught up afterwards with the victorious captain of Mar, and that's Conor Bickerstaff.
Yeah, massive win for us against a really good Curry side. I think you just need to look at the table to see how evenly matched we were heading into that game. I think Curry came out hot. They were on the scoreboard early, scored some nice tries, and 17 points in the first half. was probably shy of where they should have been. They probably could have got a few more points, but we managed to hold out near the end of the second half and get ourselves on the scoreboard, get the 13 points, which was massive going into that second half of the game. Second half, our forward pack stepped up massively. Line outs were pretty dominant, and with ball in hand, we're making good yards. So second half was a massive up for us. To keep Curry out of the game in the second half and get 0 points conceded against us was huge. So to come away with that win, it was great. We now get the home semi-final for the playoff, which is a massive bonus for us. We'll get a great crowd down at Fullerton, supported very, very well, as you guys know. So yeah, it'll be great to get that match down there, and it'll be a big crowd on 2nd of March. Looking forward to it.
That's certainly going to be some match there between Mar and Curry at Fullerton Park. The other game also on March the 2nd at Mansfield Park between Hawick and Kelso, and the winners of both games will go through to the final, and God only knows when that's going to be. At the moment, it's more likely to be in May than April because of everything else that's going on with cups and inter-district and everything else. One of the matches from earlier, Glasgow Hawks 17, Kelso 15. We can hear now from the victorious head coach. That's Andy Hill from Glasgow Hawks.
I think that's the first time this season that we've had back-to-back wins, and it just shows you that the difference it can make in terms of momentum and feeling when you're in the changing room there at the end. A few weeks ago we'd set ourselves a goal of a wee table with ourselves, Musselburgh, Heriots and Kelso, because they were all top 4 teams and everybody's playing roughly each other in those times, and we said that our goal was to try and finish top of that wee league, and we've managed to do that, which is really pleasing. Only had the narrow loss against Musselburgh, which in all honesty we should have won. So it was really good to actually come out here today against, if you read the last match report we had against Kelso, we were pretty much battered up front, and whereas today I would have said we definitely won that battle. It was a real physical contest, and a load of guys stepped up to win that, and it was credit to David McCartney, who the last few whiles had a bit of trouble with the boot, and he actually stepped up today and put a lot of kicks under pressure and some difficult ones to help us win the game today and come over the line, which is really pleasing.
So Glasgow Hawks, Andy Hill there, who's been toughening out all season, getting 2 wins back-to-back at the end of the season for them. Congratulations, beating Kelso. Now in National 2, we've just seen an amazing scene. Peebles coming from behind, scoring 2 tries in the last 7 minutes to win the game here with the bonus point, 24 points to 20. But at the other end of the table, Aberdeen Grammar, they lost today. They picked up a try bonus, but they lost the game against Stuart Melville, 45 points to 29. Berwick, they won against Gordonians 29-24 with a try bonus. A couple of celebrations as well in that game. Darren Goodfellow, 100th appearance for the club. Jack Webster, 300 appearances for him. And we can now hook up with Jack Webster at Scremerston.
On a day where Darren Goodfellow ran out for his 100th game and I ran out for the 300th time for the Blacks, it was fitting that we got the win. We played some cracking rugby in the first half, scoring 4 tries through Jordan Jackson, who scored 2, Ryan Wilson and a penalty try. And we also managed to add a penalty, and thanks to some dogged goal line defence right on the half-time whistle, we went into the break 29-12 up. Gordonians came out firing in the second half with the wind and the slope and scored a couple of quick tries to get back to 29-24. We looked like a side that hadn't won much this season. We were very nervous in the second half, and Gordonians were camped on our line with the final play, but Captain Ali Grieve came up with a massive play to hold them up over the line to confirm our win. With Aberdeen Grammar losing today, that extends our cushion over them, but we aren't taking anything for granted, and we'll be looking for 2 wins from our final games of the season to make sure that we're safe in National 2 next season.
Yes, 9 points ahead of Aberdeen Grammar now, and of course Aberdeen Grammar will host Peebles on their last day of the season, March the 16th. That's going to be quite an interesting affair. Peebles maybe going for promotion, Aberdeen trying to avoid relegation, but they're going to have to win their next 2 games with bonus points just to be in with a chance, because obviously Berwick have to play Kirkcaldy as well, and another match after that. Let's have a look at the league tables then as they stand. In the Premiership, Hawick have finished their season 77 points, Mar 71, Curry 65 and Kelso end on 52 after all the 18 games. In 5th position, Heriots Blues 50, 6th sits Musselburgh 47, Edinburgh Accies 46. Then we have Selkirk with with 35, Glasgow Hawks on 34, and Jed Forest relegated with just the 5 points. Into National 1. Ayr champions a long time ago, 74 points for them. Highland winning today against Gala, that score just coming in 35 points to 27, a victory there for Highland at Canal Park to end their season, so they finish in second place, 56 points for them. GHA 56. Melrose, who didn't play today, 51. They've still got a game to play, and they'll be doing that very, very shortly. Glasgow Accies 51, so Accies go above Watsonians after their results today. Watsonians 50, Biggar 40, Gala 39, Dundee 29, and GHK 21. So still, we don't know whether it'll be Dundee or GHK who get relegated from National 1. They've both got one game to play. National 2, Peebles in first place, 72. Second, Falkirk didn't play today, 66. Third, Newton Stewart, who won today, so they go into third with 60. Lasswade 58, but don't forget they've still got 3 games to play. Their match against Falkirk was not played today because of a waterlogged pitch. In fifth, it's Gordonians 44. Stewart's Melville have 42. In 7th place, Kirkcaldy 30. 8th, Stirling County 26. Berwick in 9th, 25 points, and Aberdeen at the bottom just getting that try bonus today with 16 points. Well, let's go down Pitchside right now because we heard from him earlier. We're going to hear from him now. 16 tries to his name, 2 tries in the last 7 minutes. It's Matty Carrier talking to Hugh Brown.
You scored 2 tries in the last 7 minutes of the game to give Peebles the victory.
It wasn't the prettiest of victories, but we'll take it as it goes. Happy to obviously cross the line, but I would have given it to anybody at the end there just to get the points.
Did you think you were going to do it? Because you looked dead and buried towards the last quarter of the game.
Yeah, I think there was times in the game I didn't think we were. Well, nothing seemed to go our plan. There was balls getting spilled left, right and centre, but you always got to have that wee belief. Obviously, like I said earlier, I was one of the most experienced, so you've got to try and keep everybody calm. When we scored the first time, the third try, and we still had 8 minutes to go. That's plenty of time to get more points on the board and get that win.
Did you think you could do it? Obviously you did.
Yeah, definitely. When like I said, when we scored that third try, the belief starts kicking in there. 8 minutes is plenty of time to see a game out. So it was just to try and get everybody else on the same road.
And it's not the first time this season that Peebles have scored a sort of last minute victory. You did that, if I remember rightly, at Lasswade as well.
Yes, I think we're running out of luck a wee bit, but hopefully one more game to go, so hopefully we'll know. We said in the huddle there at the end that we'll be hopefully putting a better performance up at Aberdeen, and we'll not leave it as nail biting as that.
Well, you got the 5 points, that was what you wanted. It means that the championship destiny is in your hands, because if you beat Aberdeen, then you'll go up as champions.
Yeah, this is it. This is what we came for. We came for the 5 points, and we've said it for the last few games now. It's always been in our hands. If we just keep picking up results and wins on the road and stuff, then it'll be our title.
Well, we wish you all the best, and congratulations on a really, as you said, nail-biting game today.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Matty Carrier there, Stuart, and I can tell you that I've been along to the dressing rooms, and the Kirkcaldy players are locked in there and are not coming out.
They're not coming out. It's such a shame for them, I have to say, because they did play incredibly well. It's a very, very muddy pitch out there, and they put in a good effort, but it wasn't quite good enough. It is an 80-minute game after all, and Dale's joined us back at the stand here. Have you got your breath yet?
Yeah, it's difficult with games like that because, you know, everybody knows, and if you don't, I'm about to tell you, but obviously I'm affiliated to Peebles in my playing career, and it's difficult to be impartial in games like that and not get swept away with it. But, you know, I think I've been involved in games that have been as exciting at the end, and you get just swept away in the kind of the whole atmosphere of it. But I was reflecting back, thinking about that. Obviously we had that big conversation about Super Series rugby and difficult to get people through the turnstiles and, you know, people getting to the games. But we had 32 homegrown players, which I think is remarkable. You know, that People's team is pretty much all homegrown players. Some players perhaps, you know, have been brought up in the area but have been educated elsewhere. But it's just, that's the beating heart of Scottish club rugby. And if it was Peebles, if it was Portobello, if it was Pennycook, it wouldn't really matter, because I think the end of that game, the way it was carried out, you had Falkirk players just to our right hand side who were here enjoying some refreshments from Kirkcaldy, with a vested interest in this game. Kirkcaldy played brilliantly. I thought their game plan was impeccable. I think just to use their strengths on a pitch which suited them. It just at the end just probably ran out a little bit of legs. They were trying to rotate their pack, trying to obviously keep that sting in their play, but just not able to in the end. But what a finish, Matty Carrier to score that try initially, but then eventually to get held up and then get over the whitewash. It was, there was one part of that, I was speaking to the players just on the touchline, but his experience came in there because the referee said at the start, "Oh, I'm all for quick taps, and before that passage of play, Matty Carrier said to the ref, quietly said, "Is this the mark?" And the referee said, "Yeah, that's the mark." He tapped it, went went in. So, it's that experience. You put another one of those young heads, Sam alluded to it on commentary as well, the experienced players in the team. You put another inexperienced player in there, they don't ask that question. And I wouldn't have asked that question as a player. I'd have just went to try and go or think, right, where was the mark? That is what the experience that Matty Carrier brings. And you hear him when he's speaking to Hugh as well, the confidence, but the experience that he brings. And I think that, there's no better player there, to get a brace at the end than Matty Carrier.
Well, I don't know if Robin is still, if he's out his bed yet or not. Are you still with us, Robin?
Yeah,
he is
out of my bed and I am here. I've moved to the kitchen.
Oh, that's good to know. He's up. And you were listening, of course. Did it sound as exciting as it was here?
Oh, it sounded tremendous. I did not see that ending coming. I thought Peebles, sadly, were dead and buried, but all credit to them. That is a phenomenal win, and it sets things up beautifully for them. The heartbreak, of course, for Falkirk. That's a sore one for them to take, unfortunately. But yeah, all credit to Peebles, all credit to Matty Carrier. Dale said everything that needs to be said there. I seem to recall saying border league game first thing of the season for us that Matty Carrier would get 15 tries this season, and several people balked at that. But all credit to the guy. That it really is fantastic. And Peebles march on. Dale, I have to say as well, consummate professionalism there. With the impartiality and alliteration rolling off the tongue as well. What a man.
Was it? Yeah, hi. People's educated, obviously.
Peebles, Portobello and Pennycook.
Oh, you like that? Thank you.
I like that, yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, of course, we've only got a couple of minutes left of the programme, but just briefly, obviously, we're not here next Saturday because it's Six Nations, Scotland against England. Robin, you were at the game against France last week at Murrayfield covering it for us. Of course, that ending, that will still be rumbling on. But what about regrouping for the English match?
Yeah, it must be. I don't know what it's like for players when something like that occurs, but the fans certainly will still be smarting a wee bit for sure, and it just shows the fine margins of international rugby at that level. Because if Scotland had won that game, which they should have, there was a poor decision at the end, but Scotland could have probably taken more of their chances. But we could be going into this England game, a very beatable, they're slightly upwardly mobile England at the moment, I would say, but they're certainly beatable at Murrayfield, and the whole thing has a completely different complexion. If we can, I don't want to do that quintessentially Scottish thing of, getting overly excited, but if we see England away, then we've got Italy to play, and then all of a sudden we're heading over to Dublin, staring down the barrel of a Grand Slam decider. So, but yeah, I think looking forward, it's an eminently winnable game for Scotland if they're on it.
Quick prediction from you before we go round the room here.
A Scotland win within 10 points.
Okay, Sam, what about you?
England 26, Scotland 19.
Oh my goodness me. And Dale?
I do see Scotland at home have been pretty strong over the last few years and should have beaten France and played poorly, but I would say that it's going to be a Scotland victory. I think they'll win by more than a try anyway.
I see this blitz defence totally taking apart Finn Russell. I like what they're doing with this new blitz defence that England are trying to bring in.
Thank you very much indeed to Sam. Sam going for England, we're going for Scotland, of course, because we're very passionate people. We can take his microphone away quite happily because they almost time, because the old signature tune we can hear in the background. In the Premiership, last night, of course, Mar beat Curry. Glasgow Hawks and Heriots Blues won today in the Premiership, and National 1 victories went to GHA. Glasgow Accies, Highland and Dundee are still very much in the mix with GHK in the relegation zone. In National 2, wins for Stumel, Berwick, Newton Stewart, Peebles, and the Lasswade v Falkirk game was postponed. Results from Division 3 and Division 4 on the website right now at rugbyradio.co.uk. Don't forget our weekly Scottish Club Rugby podcast, episode 23. That's available wherever you get your podcasts from right now with Dale Clancy and myself. But we take a break next week for Scotland against England. We'll be back on Friday night, though, the 23rd, with a Border League special. Selkirk playing Melrose, Gala versus Kelso. We'll be on air about 7 o'clock for that one, right here on Rugby Radio. Hope you can join us then, but for now, from me and the team, a very good night.